Welcome to another special. Backpack is full. Thank you for the donation of the little sweets, little candy, and some soda. I'm gonna share 50%, half, HALF with my anonymous friend. Yours truly, it is 20th of June, last day of spring, going toward the equinox at midnight. Friday before the Sabbath on these military grade boots. We did this week and last week did the record marching for total accumulated weekly marching hours. So I already have accumulated more than 5 hours yesterday, Thursday, more than 7 hours before that, and Monday and Tuesday more than 6 hours. So 6 plus 6, 12 plus 7, 19 plus 5. That gives you a little bit of that good 24. So already reached more than 20, because we aim for more than 20 on a weekly basis, more than 20, and that's how we are, of course, always aiming to get more than 20 hours starting from Sunday after sunset, when the regular week of the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom commences. And I would say the backpack is more than 50 pounds, more than 50 pounds now. And of course already I'm about 66 minutes into my march, maybe no, 77, more than 77 minutes into my march already, because I started filming a bit late. And I'm gonna go passing over here to my old neighborhood, I guess. Well, this is kind of the dividing line, but this big street which I'm on, and which I'm gonna go for like maybe even more than 44 minutes, because it's a long street, is of course the street kind of between my old neighborhood here's my old neighborhood, and my new neighborhood, but still part of Citoyen, and dedie. And I'm gonna wait for my fellow aunties here to pass and cross the street prudently, because I got the big backpack, so I take a lot of space. So I signal for them to cross first. I give them priority, and when I'm in the public, and when you and us and we are together in the public, we got added responsibilities, duties, and obligations. And sometimes I'm in my bubble as an Asp. I have that Asperger, so I have to live with this neurological mental divergent condition that makes me different and part of this tiny small fraction of the population community which do have Asperger. So sometimes I'm just filming certain things and I'm rock and roll and I'm in my bubble, but I'm always hyper vigilant, because I lived my trauma, was attacked by surprise a few years ago and hit my head on the concrete and dislocated right shoulder, and went at the Jewish General Hospital, and the right shoulder was cracked back, and I was put on some medication for pain, and I was bloodied up, and I survived. And since I guess most of those times, and I'm hyper vigilant, and I gotta be grateful, thankful, so commencing with gratitude. And although I'm financially stressed, got that donation in the backpack, so when I get back to my headquarters before the Sabbath, on the Sabbath, I'm gonna have some sweets. It was a little bit of like four little brownies and half a slices of like actually 3 different slices, but cut in half, of croissants. And there was these 4 pieces of maybe even more white chocolate type of cookies, or whatever they are. So I'm always grateful, and I got a few club sodas, and those are gonna be for the weekend and even next weekend, because I took 2 from me, 2 for my anonymous friend, so got double trouble that, and 1 drink. So got those in the backpack right there. The fridge, and sometimes I film in my past videos, and you see me at the fridge, and we go at the fridge and we take some food, and you can see it in past videos. People donate there, and always leave something for somebody else, unless it's 1 item or 2 items or 3 items, 4 items, whatever, if it's like whatever the case may be. But now the fridge was like half full, so I left for somebody else, and that's always gonna be something to be less selfish. I gotta lose my hat. Bought it secondhand, $3, and I'm gonna put it in so I don't lose it, because so I lose it. I love this one. I played that black and white on Rainbow Dragon, and here we are. So it's windy, and I don't want to lose it. It was a stormy night and stormy day, stormy beginning of the day. So sorry guys, I don't want to lose it, and we're gonna go all the way to the top, and that's how we're gonna get drilling with that, and we're gonna get going on the go, man. something which we have to be doing. And we gotta get doing with that, and we gotta get doing on the go, and gotta get it on the left side of things here in my neighborhood, you know. Anyways, a little bit of neighborhood. So my old neighborhood is on the other side of the street, and on this side is my new neighborhood. So nothing that I will to go back to, you know, just living carpe diem for today. And I survived COVID, you know. COVID was pretty hardcore for me, you know. I thought I was gonna die. It was like death, pestilence, and disease, you know. It was like death, pestilence, and disease, you know. It was like death, pestilence, and disease, you know, God, and like really like death, pestilence, and disease. I know when I say that, it kind of feels like a rock and roll heavy death metal, trash metal raps, rock and roll song, you know. Death, pestilence, and disease are my enemies, please. God is blessed, you know. That's how I felt like in between February 2020 and March 2020. So I thought I was gonna die. I really thought I was gonna die. I got triple vaxxed, and ever since that period, turn your heads left or right when you cross the streets, even if it's one way. Ever since that period, it's been already more than 5 years since I survived it, right in where I live now, underground Muslim temple. And ever since I survived that coronavirus, and I live every day, carpe diem it every day, and that's just how I rock and roll with that. And as I go now on the go, and always love to salute the firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, and grocery store clerks, all involved in the production, distribution of food, you know, across the North American Collectif, the 10 provinces, 50 states, and 3 territories, and those in the daycare workers who change some diapers, and those doing on that fast food joints now across the 63, Canada, United States. This Quebecer Canadian North American was born 3 times in the United States, once as a woman, twice as a man, and served in the United States Armed Forces twice, 2 different wars, and now I got it on the go to look out for my fellow other citizens prudent here as we go, just to stay on the right. And I guess you had enough of my face, eh? Had enough of my face? Enough of my face. Gotta take a look at the city and look at how the prices have increased. Prices keep increasing, so that's a problem, especially for me who's financially struggling. And you know, I live with Asperger's. I'm just gonna go a little bit on what Asperger's is. Now, and I see the gas is going up. Went up from 156, about 8 cents. So I live with this neurological mental divergent condition called Asperger's. What is Asperger's? What is not? Asperger's is not a mental illness. It is a neurological mental divergent condition. Makes us Aspies predisposed to those special intense interests, and we can be super intense, super concentrated, super focused, and our daily routines and habits on a daily basis usually are revolved and surround our implications in those activities, whatever they be. For an Aspie, it could vary, of course. For yours truly, it is, of course, geopolitics, sports and fitness, and dancing. Dancing is my favorite sport, and rock and roll with that, and that's what it is for yours truly. So that is me as an Aspie, you know, as an individual. That's my special interest, also known as obsessive interest. But for other Aspies, it could be something else. It could be something else, you know. So it depends, it varies. From Aspie to Aspie, it might vary, so it's not a conclusive thing. But of course, for different Aspies, it can be different things, which of course we can be situational awareness of where we are, you know, in the presence of things. Sometimes we're very weird, very, of course, strange, and how we interact with people and how we interact with others, and the circumstances which we have, and that's why we are with the go. And we're gonna get on that, crossing the street here. Crossing the street prudently. That's what it is with that, and that's what we gotta get doing, right? You know, we gotta get on the love. And I realized that me with Asperger's, thanks to my anonymous friend who wasn't my friend because of the money, because I never had any, and the counterpositions of course, me as an Aspie having Asperger's, is that of course we have vulnerabilities. We have vulnerabilities. And those vulnerabilities are usually related and of course coincide the vulnerabilities with, of course, our vulnerabilities are because we don't interact the same with certain people, and we have these weird, peculiar mannerisms, of course, and we have certain interactions in the way we interact that are weird and awkward, and of course we can be pretty direct and straightforward in certain things, but we can be vulnerable in certain things, and of course one of the books which was gifted among several, one was gifted, I had to revise several times, several times I had to revise, and I had to revise the chapters on Asperger's, how we can be vulnerable to the neurotypicals, so ever since then I learned that my vulnerabilities are always something which I have to take into consideration as an Aspie, being that I'm vulnerable, and Aspies generally, because of how we are, how our brains are, meaning that we have these mutations of the brain and certain things we just don't get socially, socially. Just inform yourselves, and I recommend the channel Aspie World, shout out, and everything related to Asperger's on YouTube or on Google, you can check it out for yourself. So I gotta give a shout out, thank you my anonymous friend who made me learn the past years, especially related to my condition of Asperger's, how I gotta be aware of being vulnerable in certain situations and certain circumstances which we have, and which we are on the dynamics to get it on the go and get it on the know, and so we gotta get vulnerable so that people don't exploit, the vulnerabilities which we have, and take advantage and exploit the vulnerabilities which we have, That's just how we are due to those several characteristics, because they're not symptoms. Symptoms is, of course, for a mental illness or an illness, but Aspie characteristics are not a symptom of an illness. They're just characteristics, and those characteristics make us predisposed to these special interests, and characteristics such as repeating phrases twice, 3 times are, of course, part of the Aspiness of an Aspie, me as an individual part of this tiny community, and there's not a lot of Aspies in the world. It's less than 1%, less than half of a percentile, 0.44% estimated the population North America. So that's why a lot of people don't know, never heard of Asperger's, but more and more in the past years there has been a demystification and demystifying on breach and more furthering the understanding of what is Asperger's, what is not. And it's not a mental illness, and it's not an illness, it is just our brains have these mutations, and of course due to these mutations of the brain we have a tendency to have, of course, certain characteristics of traits which make us vulnerable in certain circumstances. For example, employment opportunity and job opportunity is a big problem for Aspies. Aspies, of course, there's a 60 to 80% higher unemployment rate, so that is, of course, 80% the higher, 11 times higher than the average rate. So between 60 and 80% higher the rate, of course, between 11 times higher the rate. Eleven times higher the rate, Imagine that, 11 times higher the rate. $11 times higher the rate. 11 times higher, so it's between 60 and 80%. 60 and 80%. Calculate that, where the neurotypical, the vast majority of the population, which you constitute the 99.56%, your neurotypicals comparison to us in neurodivergence, the 0.44%, it's 11 times higher for Aspies, the unemployment rate. So that's a big problem which we gotta take into consideration. Also, another problem is depression and suicide. High depression, high suicidal, high depression rate. So due to these high depression rates, high suicidal rates, myself, I lived being depressed and suicidal, and I gotta state, because it's important, because that really changed my life as I I guess I died and being reborn so many times, I guess, on the scars on the body. But in 2017 summer, I crossed Canada coast to coast, you know, cross Canada coast to coast, cross Canada coast to coast. In 2017 in August, went in BC, British Columbia and Vancouver, out west that way. And then in September 2017 went to Halifax, Nova Scotia, out in the east. So that event made me realize how many things we have. And I remember reaching Banff when I had a revelation. I said, wow, this is a paradise of mountainous region, such a beautiful region in Alberta. And when I crossed, also the whole experience crossing Canada was by bus. It took a long time. From Montreal to Vancouver, it was 3.5 days, so we really saw a lot. And then from Montreal in September 2017, from Montreal to Halifax, it was 25 hours and 44 minutes. 25 hours and 44 minutes. So in 2017 summer, I was crossing Canada coast to coast. Made me also establish a strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians. So I crossed that coast to coast. That made me come out of being depressed and suicidal. And most of my works that I relate to, that I discussed in my past video, especially the intellectual, academic, philosophical work as it relates to the North American collective civilizational complex and geopolitics, because geopolitics is my special interest. We Aspies, people with Asperger's, we have these special interests, and those special interests preoccupy our whole daily routines, which can seem pretty rigid. And you see that me for years and years and years, I've been pretty much doing kind of the same repetition of working out, training, exercising, marching, doing geopolitical analysis, and also my philosophies and theories, which I've mostly written since that trip 2017, especially one that is parallel to tourism, is of course it has a little bit academic, scholarly, intellectual sophistication to it, but of course it is the title is somewhat the mass financing via public-private partnership for citizen overall wellness of the North American collective via tourism initiative, or the tourism initiative for the mass initiative for the financing of mass tourism, or the initiative for the financing of mass tourism across the North American collective for the general wellness and solidarity of the general North American collective's population, basically a binational and extending to Mexico affair. But primarily my philosophies are for instituting them binationally in a public-private partner manner. So Canada, United States, I think if you check my past videos, that's to fully understand and comprehend the initiatives, the philosophies, the trinity or theories that I'm calling to be implemented ASAP, because we're in emergency mode, are primarily in the mode, of course, of the North American collective. Primarily, that's what it is with that. So primarily, they're of course fundamentally, in essence, quintessentially, they're related to the North American collective. And of course, these things which we have in common are for the North American collective are something which we have to understand in the propositions, of course, that we understand to do the work that we do. As Aspies, it almost co-equivalates with being excellent and super good in their special interests, of course, while at the same time we can neglect to the detriment of other neglection, to the detriment of other neglect. We can neglect other things on a daily basis, such as things around the house or things to do. We could be pretty mediocre averages or so, that's what we're gonna do. And that's why I don't require much support, but as you can see, my special interest, of course, preoccupy my daily affairs, my daily life and daily living is preoccupied with my special interest, of which my holy trinity of special interest, also known as obsessive interest, is geopolitics. Sports and fitness. Dancing is my favorite sport activity, and rock and roll. And also those three, of course, are the main conclusive and the main, of course, counterpositions of what they are, of course, in the North American collective, as we are together in the North American collective for the greater North American collective civilizational complexes, well-being and the dimension and everything that we do, of course, as a philosopher, as an artist, as a theoretician. A geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist is mostly consequentially binational affair, and a binational affair first and foremost. So that is something to be comprehended and understood fully. As much as I know the ways of the world, world and the understanding of the dynamics of the world situation, and of course the world and the complexities, because geopolitics is always an international global affairs, and my main concern now is the ongoing Iran-Israel. And of course I gotta make the statement, as I do in all my videos, that I'm very proud of my work as an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist. I predicted what's happening now in 2019. I have proof. I have proof. I have proof. I have proof. I have the video online. I have it posted. I have several discussions and levels of analysis where in 2019, in October, of course I have predicted whatever the case may be, and that's what it is with that. And that's what we gotta get doing with that. So basically that I predicted what's happening now. Of course, and consequently my prediction, of course, were based on several levels of analysis, you know. So basically an intellectual academic analysis nonetheless. But of course I predicted what's happening now. I predicted it in 2019 and 2019. So of course my prediction was and is based on several levels of academic, scholarly, intellectual affairs. But to summarize it, it is and it was that due to the fact that many nation states, civilizational regions and civilizational complexes and countries were not able to fully resolve their conflicts dating from the 20th century, and my specialty is of course 20th century, especially the Cold War period, which lasted between 1947, March 1947, and of course this year, and of course 1991 December, so more than 44 years, almost 45 years. That's what, of course, what they lasted on, and that's what, of course, it was the last. And so that is the premise of my geopolitical analysis. Was a bit academic, intellectual, it is, but nonetheless, if I make a summary, was that due to these levels of analysis, that there were unresolved conflicts of the 20th century, which were not fully resolved, So these conflicts are going to restart. So that's basically what's happening now in Iran, Israel. Those are conflicts which of course date from the 20th century. And of course in Palestine, Israel, Hamas, Israel, the Arab world, these are of course those conflicts which will not fully resolve from the 20th century. So those conflicts were not fully resolved, And that's what it is consequentially. Were not fully resolved, you know. So those conflicts, I predicted that they're going to reignite, restart in the 21st century. So that's basically what's been happening and has been happening since now. In the past years. And that's what it is, and that's what it is now. And of course it is further solidification of whatever the case is, that we are on the verge of World War III. I predicted, of course, that it could be nuclear, 50-50 on the nuclear, but of course 2/3 biological weapons. So the higher rate of biological weapons, that is going to be a higher rate of biological weapon use, you know. A higher rate of biological weapon use, and that's what I predicted. And I got proof because I got a video online. It was a World War III scenario. I also take pride, of course, in having created an efficient, simple, and effective workout training program system, which, of course, I myself completed more than 372 sessions of that own workout training program system, which, of course, I had predicted. And since I predicted a World War III scenario, I created the General War Integrated Total Body Training System, the General War Integrated Total Body Training System, the General War Integrated Total Body Training System, the General War Integrated Total Body Training System. That's what I predicted with that, and that's what I predicted with that, you know. So it's something which we gotta get doing, and we gotta get instauration, of course, of my Trinity of theories and the creation of the two consequently cooperative, complementary, and cooperative institutions, the Dancing Goddess Army and the DGA, and the Dragon Army, the SSD, Legion of the North American Collective, and unite Canada and United States in a public private partnership manner, in a fused manner, and of course by implementing my DRT, the dead refusion theory, for the creation of the, you know, of the universal exchange unit. The creation of the universal exchange unit. The creation of the universal exchange unit. Here you gotta turn your heads left and right because sometimes they come and they turn the corner there. So always double check, make sure. So here I'm in between, you know, my old neighborhood, new neighborhood, and this July 1st, today is the 20th of June, so in 11 days, either it's gonna be 9 years, and 9 years, and 9 years, you know, 9 years, you know, 9 years, and whatever the case may be. That's for it. That's for it. Not for it. Illusions, man. What? Illusions. Not really nothing. It's illusions, man. Illusions. That's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful bike. If an Aspie has automobiles and bikes as a special interest, and Aspie will know so many things about bikes and automobiles. We'll be able just to look at it, know how much gas it consumes, details about a car. If it's automobiles, the Aspie special interest will be able to tell you in detail how much gas it consumes, where it was manufactured, the years, what's the technical, the transmissions, what's made of interiorly, you know, the blah blah, etc., the details of the car manufacturing and the car itself and the history of the company and the key people, players involved, etc. I mean, it's geopolitics. That's my special interest, parallel to sports and fitness, and dancing is my favorite sport, but parallel to dancing, I love boxing, gridiron, and North American football, and whoopsie. That's what it is, and so we gotta get doing on that rock and roll, so that's my holy trinity: sports, fitness, rock and roll, and of course, also an Aspie might know so many things about cars, or depending, because it varies, right? The variation of the special interest is Aspie per Aspie. So it's an individual. It's not all Aspies have the same special interest. It could be mechanics, it could be, you know, things such as helicopters, it could be automobiles, it could be history, it could be physics, science. In a parallel life, I'm also an Aspie, and in that parallel life, science, technology, mathematics, physics, everything to do with logic and science and mathematics. And in that parallel life, I'm a super Aspie scientist, and I build satellites, supercomputers, microchips, supercomputers, ICBM rockets, and coding, everything to do with microchips, cell phones, and radio and telecommunications, and everything to do with those aforementioned. In that parallel life, in this life, well, it's geopolitics, sports and fitness. Dancing is my favorite sport, and rock and roll, that's my holy trinity, and my daily routines and habits and rituals. And we have these seemingly rigid routines and habits, which sometimes can seem rigid, but I'm flexible for change, especially economic, financial, commercial. My only stress now, to be honest, I'm smiling now, I'm joyous. I've been on the thirsty side, but it is just money-wise, economically, financially stressed, and got $10,000 in debt, and it's the 20th of June, last day of spring, summer coming tomorrow, but I'm grateful, thankful I got that in the backpack, so I'm gonna feast on the budget on the equinox. Maybe, I got leftovers in the fridge, so I'm good to go with the leftovers. Today I also had leftovers, donated leftovers, so, you know, paid my rent, paid my electricity bill, got food and coffee. But again, the problem in my community of Asperger's is, of course, that we are a high unemployment rate. The high unemployment rate between 60 and 80%. Between 60 and 80%. Between 60 and 80%. 60 and 80%. That's 11 times higher than the majority of the population. And parallel to the 60 and 80%, to you 5 to 9%, that's 11 times higher for every one of you, and we're the tiny, small minority. Even the parallel community which I'm part of, which is also a minority, is the LGBTQ community. It's the LGBTQ community. I am androgynous, pansexual. My reincarnations sometimes was born a woman, a man, and I'm a mystic who believes in, who knows my reincarnations, but sometimes with flashes, not details, but overall general reincarnations. And every time I go to the mountain and I get more details and information, but that's what it is. So basically, of course, my reincarnations sometimes was born a man, a woman, a woman, a man, 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 a man, a woman, a woman, a man. And now 2025, you get that 50-50. You get that 50-50. And that's what it is with that. And that's how we're gonna get drilling with that. And we're gonna get that rock and roll, you know. So it is something which we gotta be on the side. And that's what it is here. We're gonna pass the street and see the bus drivers, 100% electric, and that's how we're gonna get doing with that, and that's how we're gonna get rock and roll. And I think this one is the one. Oh, there it is. So that's what it is with that, and that's how we're gonna get doing, you know, for the left or right, and for the left or right, and for the bakeries, the bakers, the butchers, the nurses, and the doctors, the firefighters, and all those production, distribution of food. And that's how we gotta get doing with that, man, you know. Something which we have to be aware of, you know, because civilization is a privilege, and that's how we got, and that's how we gotta get doing on that drill, you know, for all those who put out those 3G, 4G, 5G, and no need to stingray me, yours truly. Hakala Montreal, in the parallel life, I build those stingrays, and you know, anything can be by communication, internet, online, cell phone can be in theory intercepted by a third party, but I do believe in total security, total service, total defense, the total SSD principle for the North American Collectif via the implementation of my new Dragon 911 protocols. I formulated them, started writing them a bit in the academic, technical, philosophical sense back in the end of 2019. And of course I revised them during COVID, the emergency during COVID. So those are my special interests, and of course geopolitics from the North American perspective, of course, because as much as I know the ideologies, you're gonna turn your heads, as much as I know the ideologies, the histories of different nations, states, civilizations, etc., I am a Quebecer, Canadian, North American. Drove all the way from Texas. Got a CFO to Nexus. Drove all the way from Texas. The Lone Star State. Yeah, the Lone Star State. The Lone Star State. I was Lone Star. I roamed there in a past life. I was born, just read George Patton's Three Glass Darkly. George Patton, Three Glass Darkly. George Patton, Three Glass Darkly. THROUGHAGLASSDARKLY. True a Glass Darkly is one of my favorite poems, and somebody made it from Florida, and Texas. I guess they're close to each other, and you know, that's what it is. And we gotta get rid of the border. We gotta get rid of the border as soon as possible, you know. My way to fuse Canada and the United States best, and that's what it is with that. Left, right, Z with that. And so we gotta get doing like that, and we gotta get doing on the love, you know, for the butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, and the grocery store clerks, and all those involved in the production, distribution of food, you know. That's how we gotta get rolling, and we gotta get on the passage here to pass prudently, because sometimes it is a public-private partnership. What you gotta do, just see an ASPE thing is, I would try to focus on that. That means, in translation to English, is down with capitalism, down capitalism. I'm a democratic Republican, pro-labor and love, universal revolutionary centrist. My centrism is tied hand in hand with my pro-labor and love, universal revolutionary theories, and the DRT, the debt refusion theory, of course, for the creation of the universal exchange unit, is something that I got to consequentially and prudently, and advise all to revise my past videos and acquaint yourself fully, to the fullest possible extent, in knowledge and comprehension and understanding of the DRT theory, the debt refusion theory, the DRT debt refusion theory, DRT debt refusion theory, which integrates and includes monetary integration theory. monetary integration theory. The DRT includes monetary integration theory. So inside my DRT, debt refusion theory, is integrated monetary integration theory. So the monetary integration theory, of course, is the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union. In the European Union. So consequently, I'm going to come back to it in a bit. I just want to finish up on Asperger's. That is not a mental illness, and it is a neurological mental divergent condition. We see the world differently. And we might, of course, focus on certain information and awareness and certain things of a societal nature of which we are the details, for example. Certain details which some people will be like, WTF, what the fuck? For example, the numbers here, for example, RBQ, those numbers. I know there's some registration with the Quebec official and standardization of the bureaucratic procedures and legalistic procedures of the bureaucracy, you know. But as a democratic Republican, I gotta say, because I'm pro-labor and love universal revolutionary centrics and public-private partnership, and I gotta say, of course, that we got, and I gotta say that we need my Trinity of Theories, but my Trinity of Theories is for the North American collective. What I call the North American civilizational complex and collective, of course, as a philosopher, I discuss often the fact that we constitute a civilizational collective which is not totally divorced, but is distinct from Western civilization. Those are key words to remember from the North American civilizational collective belief, because it's a theory, but I believe it. I know it to be a philosophical truth that we are a distinct and divergent in many ways civilizational collective, which is still part of the Western civilization, but with its own distinctions. Just like I am different and distinct from the 99.56% of the population having is the North American civilizational collective distinct from Western civilization. Distinct but not divorced, because I'm not divorced from the majority of the population. It's just us. We have way more unemployment, and we have more depression and suicidal rates in our community. See, it's full of food, and I gotta be grateful that it is. Somebody donated, so maybe I'm gonna show what it is. But if not, I'm gonna show just 3 items what I got. And see, this was donated. It's not full, but I got some from me from my anonymous friend. This one, and got some soda like that. Nobody's paying me. I don't get no corporate sponsorship. I just showed what was donated, so I got a few of those, and that makes it a bit on the heavier side, but that means my workout is going to be a little bit increased and added on, because we're going to the mountain and I got to hydrate because I'm thirsty. So I'm just going to drink this fully, and we're going to discuss the DRT and other matters. For example, although I see it blurred, see? Exactly. So this is an ASPE trait. So an ASPE would focus, of course, on several traits of that bus. See that bus? It says 63. It makes me think, of course, of the 63, because the empire is the kingdom, the dancing goddess, and the dragon kingdom is for the empire. And the number 63 represents our new states, which we're going to constitute the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom of the empire, the kingdom, the democratic republican for the dragon army and the dancing goddess army. But you also see the number 44. And I believe it's 44, a line, and 004. See on the bus, 44, a line, and 004. See, there's a 44, a line, and 004. See, 44, gotta steady it. 44, there's a line, and 004 on the bus. See? Now it's getting closer, so see there? 44 and 004, and the number 63. So an ASPE would focus on that number and pay attention to that number, and if there's I don't know exactly what it is, probably a classification of the number, but I would be interested in what that number. Many people would not even notice that number, nor the number 63 in the back. See? That is aspiness for you right there. I'm gonna drink it all, 591 milliliters. It's just water. So whatever that number is, 44 a line and then 004. The number 63, you know, that of course represents for me the new states which we're gonna constitute, the 10 provinces, 50 states. That's 10 plus 50, that's 60 plus 3, that's 63. So that's the 63 on the bus. And we need to get the North American Rehabilitation Act, including the criminals. 44 makes me think, of course, of the tunnels, which for years and years and years, especially during COVID and due to the newly increased threat of nuclear war, I have been not arguing, but of course I've been calling for us to, of course, to build the 44, build the 44, build the 44, build the 44 tunnels across the 63, the 10 provinces, 50 states, 3 territories, which we're going to merge in the kingdom, the empire, as we're going to create a common currency. As we're going to create, of course, a common currency by the implementation of the DRT. And of course, as we're going to implement my several theories, of course, which we're going to continue to implement, of course, in the coming days, weeks and months ahead, as we're going to go, of course, towards the new dynamics of an institutionalization of the public-private partnership corporations, cooperative corporations, the army, Dragon Army, the Dragon Army, and that's how we're gonna get doing the Dragon Army, aka the North American Integrated Defense Legion, only for SSD, only and solely for SSD. That has to be understood. Only and solely for SSD. As I go here on Coast St. Luke, which divides my old neighborhood, I used to live over there, a few kilometers, miles. That way. And I was living in a small underground prison type of cell, like a prison type of cell in a basement. Type of prison cell, type of basement. And I remember moving, you know. So I moved from there, and here I am. And so we're gonna get doing on that. So I moved from that moldy place, and I was depressed, suicidal. I probably moved 2016 or 2015, either 9 years this July 1st coming in the next 11 days, or possibly that is gonna be maybe 10 years. July 1st, maybe 10 years. The July 1st, maybe 10 years. 10 years, maybe July 1st. Not sure exactly. That's what I gotta check, and that's what I gotta check with that, and that's what I gotta get on that rock and roll, man. Those beautiful reds. So that's what we're gonna get doing with that, and that's how we're gonna get on that transmission line, and we're gonna get it for the left, for the right, and for the butchers, for the bakers, and for the nurses, for the firefighters, for the doctors, for all those involved in the production, distribution of food. And here we are, you know. I'm not gonna go with it, but we're gonna cross that way. So that's where kind of my own neighborhood begins. Nothing that I want to go back to. Of course, I lived in a very moldy place, and here I gotta cross that side, and that's how we're gonna cross on the other side there. That's how I gotta cross on the other side there, and that's how we gotta get doing on that, man. So we gotta get on that rock and roll, and he there, bus driver. Bus drivers, man, they rock and roll. I gotta salute the bus drivers always. I don't know how, you know, it takes a lot of patience, a lot of courage even, and it's a lot of work, you know. Being a bus driver takes a lot of work. So that's what I always meditate on, the bus drivers. And I guess now, because I crossed in, because I'm going to cross that way, but nothing that I will to go back to in my own neighborhood here. We're going to, just because I want to take a little bit more sun, and if I go that way, the sun is going to be blocked. So I was going to go straight by the more richer, affluent neighborhood, but I don't mind just passing through my own neighborhood, like I said, just passing through, there's the Cuban consulate, and I'm kind of in my own neighborhood now, starting from that demarcation line there. But of course, Montreal is an island, and it's surrounded by, of course, a big river, the Snake River, and we got these 2.5 million people with us, and that's how we got to get on the consequently for the implementation of my Trinity of theories, and that's how we got to go on the left and on the right and in the middle, and to get it for the butchers and Salut! So we gotta get doing on that, and my auntie there said a little bit of hello, help her out if she needs, but didn't ask for any help specifically, but of course sometimes she needs a little bit of that help with it, and that's what we gotta get doing here with that, and that's what we're gonna get doing, man. We get doing for the left, for the right, for the butchers, the bakers, and the nurses, the doctors, and the firefighters, the plumbers, the electricians, and all those involved in the production, distribution of food, and the firefighters, and all those, of course, who are now in the collective North American Civilizational Complex. As we move, of course, to go, as we move to go on the go, and that's how we gotta get doing, man. Sometimes we just gotta drill, and we just gotta find what we like to do. Sometimes what we like to do, of course, is myself dancing and doing these videos, you know. That's how we like to be doing, man. Here, the consequential things of where we are now, and here's a hot sunny day. So I always got to be saying my gratitude, grateful, thankful, my rent's paid and electricity bill's paid, and got a helicopter, chopper, you know, you got to give me 300 helicopters and choppers with it, and that's something which we got to get going for the Dragon Army, which is going to be only for us, only for security, only for service, only for defense, and that's how we got to rock and roll with that, and it's always something which we got to be mindful of, our generational loves that we got to be. If you're black, white, and rainbow, you know, you want to come loving with me, you got to be of age, though. I'm not playing with anybody who's going to card you, you know, going to card you, just like when you go buy chocolate, well, not chocolates, but alcoholic, or you know, there's sell chocolates which are induced. Chocolates which are induced with marijuana or cannabis, and those are the things, of course, which you can buy, but you got to be 18 plus with that, and that's what we got to get doing on the drill, man. You got to be 18 plus, and just like that, we're gonna function with that. You're gonna get carded, and that's what we're gonna be, you know. You're gonna get carded, and that's how we're gonna roll with that, and consequently, that's how we're gonna be doing, you know. So you gotta be 18 plus, you know. Here, when I pass here, I always consequently think of the truckers, the truckers, and that's how we go, and the truckers, and gonna get it on the go, and that's where we're gonna be. And now my brain switches to geopolitics, see, because this street is integral, this highway is integral to the North American Collective. This street going east, west, north, south is integral to the North American Collective, and of course they're going east and they're going south, and the other ones are going north. So here, meditate, all the truckers of the 63, the 10 provinces, 3 territories, because my brain now switches to geopolitics, and imagine all the truckers who are going east, west, north, south, and north and east, and of course whatever the case may be, they're going east and west. These are going north and south, so maybe to the border, maybe coming in, and of course they're carrying goods which are crucial, of course, for the North American Collective Civilizational Complex. That's what it's going to be. They're crucial elements: eggs, bacon, cheese, bread, butter, whatever the case may be. Consequently, that's what it is with that, and that's what we gotta secure, and of course we're open for sabotage and espionage. So these trucks, there are not that many, of course, which carry certain goods now, but they can be carrying certain goods from the left, from the right, from the east, from the west, and of course if you can see how many they are. Maybe this one is smaller, but you know, you have the bigger ones. So the bigger ones, they could be carrying consequently so many things, of course, so many things which are vital to the North American Collective, for the children, for the youth. So I got to salute across North America now, the 10 provinces, 50 states, 3 territories, how many are carrying eggs, bread and butter and cheese. I don't know exactly. I know there's many who are carrying that. The vital for our North American Collective Civilizational Complex, vital for our continuity, vital for the youth, vital for the families, vital for the workers. So whereas the prices are increasing, we have seen, of course, the prices are increasing, and of course is the DRT, the debt refusion theory, which of course has to be implemented across the North American collective. There's no other way but to implement the DRT, the debt refusion theory, and yeah, that's what we got to do. We got to implement the DRT, the debt refusion theory. Now that jumps to mind, it's something which I got to finish meditating. I don't know, there's a specific number, XYZ, but numerically now in circulation from Texas to California to here, Montreal, east, west, north, south, across the 63, the 10 provinces, 50 states, 3 territories, even beyond. We can go all the way to Mexico, from Mexico as well. There's hundreds of trucks, thousands if not of trucks, which are circulating with goods such as bread, butter, eggs, bacon, etc., 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 etc. Those goods which are vital to eating, vital for the family, to nourish itself, all the vitality which are on these trucks and on their way, which are probably going to reach some destination today. Because keep in mind, we have also time zones. So we got to subtract 3 hours, right? If we're going to San Francisco from Montreal, coast to coast, we got 4 hours in the United States, 5.5. Canada, coast to coast, from the extremes. The Atlantic and the Pacific, of course, we got it coast to coast. From the Atlantic and the Pacific, we got it coast to coast, of course. So we got to take that in consideration, take that into account as I go towards the mountain now. So taking that into account, meditating about it, we can come up with a number. Of course, the number is not going to be, of course, exactly the same. But there's a number which can come to proximity. And that proximity, of course, can be pretty much in balance. Hey, look at that tree, how it looks. Doesn't that tree look a bit weird? In the manner that, of course, it kind of looks like a mushroom a bit. Hey, doesn't it? Kind of a bit, hey, slightly. Like a cupola. So see the beauty of nature this here, what the beautiful nature is, and you have the beautiful nature here as it is, and that's how we got, and that's how we gotta get doing now. The nature is in such a way that it's consequentially, the natural habitat is ingrained with our urban super metropolis, because it's the second most populated city in Canada. It was the biggest for a long time until 2007, 2010, and it's 7th or 8th, top 10 even when we include the cities of Mexico, because Mexico City, capital of Mexico, the country of Mexico, is the most populated in terms of population. So we gotta compute and calculate that. So if we extend our calculation for the trucks also from Mexico, that means that we have to add a few hundred or thousand more. And there the goods vary, because Mexico, of course, exports goods such as avocados, and many others. But I'm just thinking because I buy that from my anonymous friend. So that's, with others, cantaloupe, melons, and other variation of goods. I'm just thinking of the one that's in my household that's consumed the most and is from Mexico. It's predominantly the avocados and others as well, but that's the one that I can quantify the most for the purchases in my household. Now I live an austere, simple, severe lifestyle because of the financial stress, but I also encourage people to work out, train, exercise, and get out of the way of the brothers and sisters in blue, of the brothers and sisters in blue. Gotta get out of the way. As I sing for them that rock and roll, I also gotta sing for somebody else, Gotta get out of the way for the brothers and sisters in blue when they pass to do their jobs, and they're human beings also. And they need to fully be representative of whatever the case may be, so something which we have to be doing, and that's what we gotta get doing with that, So it's also a level of comprehension. As I sing rock and roll for the boys and girls in blue, I also gotta sing that rock and roll for the brothers and sisters who do their criminal rehabilitation. Because we gotta get the North American Criminal Rehabilitation Act. We gotta get the North American Criminal Rehabilitation Act. We gotta get the Criminal Rehabilitation Act, and that's what we gotta get doing, This I like a lot. This is called the whipping willow. Usually you find them by the river. You don't find them this deep in the city, but you can find them, you don't find them this deep in the city, but now you do, I guess. So just be careful when you hear the ambulances on the streets, in the public. You have, myself included, we have added responsibilities, duties, and obligations which we don't usually have, we don't usually have under the normal circumstances of life. Circumstances of life is not, if I would have stayed home, I would have had less. I gotta say that, shout out to that little garden there, it's kind of cute. So I would have had less responsibilities, duties, and obligations under the normal circumstances of life, Under the normal circumstances of life, I would have had less. And that's what it is with that, and that's what we gotta get doing on that consequential. So, something which we gotta be doing on the go, and doing on the left, and doing on the right with that, and that's how we gotta get, drive it in and drive it out, and yeah. Yeah, another beautiful flowers here, and you gotta admire a little bit of that beautiful flowers with that, and beautiful for the go. What you want? Ah, c'est ça. C'est là-bas, par exemple. Ici. Discretion. Allez. And that's what we gotta get doing, man. So I gotta admire the little neighborhood here, how it is, and that's what we got, and we gotta get doing on the go, and that's it. We gotta get doing on the left and on the right, and here we are, man. Beautiful flowers here. We gotta get it on the left, and here we got it on the trip side of things, and we gotta do it for the left and for the right, and for the butchers, the bakers, and the nurses, doctors, firefighters, plumbers, electricians, doctors, and beautiful tree. That is the most gorgeous tree I saw this spring. I have to cross Privee, although there's a way, there's a one way. People make mistakes, but look at that. Look at this tree. Look at this. Wow. Isn't that tree gorgeous? Isn't that tree gorgeous? Isn't that tree gorgeous? Beautiful trees. Feels a bit fantastical here. Feels a bit fantastic. So again, if you hear the ambulances or the police, just slow down. If you hear it in your vicinity, press the slow down. It's hard. People are overly stressed. Increasing cost of living has affected many of us. Maybe included our brothers and sisters in uniform. So if you hear the ambulance and just be careful, be mindful that, my brothers and sisters in uniform, they're human beings also. Boys and girls in blue, I sing that rock and roll for you, but also for those who do their criminal rehabilitation. There's a beautiful yellow flowers. I just love that combination. Yeah, nice flowers here. And as I go to my second home, the mistress my mistress, my Dr. Mountain, Mistress Forest on the mountain, vice versa, and also get feel good, and I always love to work out and train and exercise, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, and so we gotta get doing on that drill, man, and sometimes what you have to be, and get some loving with that, and consequently a bit of that prudence and on the road, and gratitude, grateful, thankful, my rent's paid, electricity bill's paid, got food and coffee, and I'm gonna take a bath, and Sabbath begins at midnight, and I'm gonna do that big resting, and that's how we're gonna get doing, and so we're gonna get drilling with that, and we're gonna get doing on that, and we gotta get doing on the love side of things, for just the bakers, the nurses, and the doctors, firefighters, and I think we can turn here already. Best if we turn here, I'm not sure, but we will need to turn at one point, so I think I'm gonna make the decision to turn on this snakes. I'm referring to the trails and the streets as snakes, of course. Not in a negative, pejorative manner, but the streets is. I love snakes. So not a problem for me. So again, my special interest is geopolitics, and 24/7 to study the analysis. I predicted what's happening now. I have proof. Of my predictions, and you can check out my past videos, and you can always link it, stuff like that. I take great pride in my work as an independent geopolitical theoretical analysis. Some of my videos you might watch, and it might be way too academic, scholarly, intellectual, discuss some philosophical, academic, scholarly geopolitical theories, which might seem new and a bit confusing, or might be hard to grasp. But if you listen 2, 3 times, 4 times, then you might comprehend more deeply and understand fully the North American centric geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist, as I go on Victoria Street now. This North American centric geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist, because fundamentally I'm a Quebecer, Canadian, North American. So as much as I pronounce myself a no from learning, so I spend a few years, and every day I learn new things, I know the conflicts and histories and philosophies, and especially the Cold War, but mostly, if not all, although I am a universalist as I can be, a universal hearted and minded for world peace, I'm a North American centric, and my Trinity of theories being the CIT, DRT, and DFT, standing for Citizen Integration Theory, the CIT, the DRT, Debt Rule Fusion Theory, and the DFT, Democratic Fusion Theory. That Trinity of theories to be implemented via love, and of course that Trinity of theories, of course, North American centric, and first and foremost for the North American collective. It could be expanded, but basically, fundamentally, in essence, binational for the 63. The 10 provinces, 50 states, 3 territories, do the math. And it could be expanded, Mexico and beyond, with a NATO complex, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It can be expanded thereof, but fundamentally they're in essence for the aforementioned what I made that statement to be, as I am here on this 20th of June, last day of spring. Another overtime, every time marching rock and roll, and I've been marching, of course, for about more than 77 minutes before I started, and that's what it is with that, and that's what we gotta get doing on that, and so we're gonna get that appellation, and we gotta get it on the love side of things, and gonna get it on left, right, Z, and so we gotta get on that collective, so something which I gotta get doing with that, and something which I gotta get doing for the setting some rules. If you want to love with me, black or white, black, you got man, woman, a rainbow in between, black, white, or rainbow, man or woman, you got to be 18 plus. I'm gonna card you just like when you go buy some booze, some liquor, legal cannabis. Here, Canada, Quebec, Canada is legal. I smoke rarely. I still have from more than 3.5 years ago that I purchased during COVID, maybe even 4 years ago. I still have some leftovers. I don't know if it's still any good, but I don't smoke much, but it's legal here. It's been legalized since 2019, and exactly in November 2019, that's when I predicted that it's going to be an international flagration coming in the coming 7 years, as I'm calling here now for the Dragon Empire implementation for the septennium. When I walk rallies like this, I always remind myself that I spent many years, from what I can remember, because I got that retrograde amnesia, memory loss. I lived in that underground small prison type of cell, lots of mold. I was surprised by attack. I was attacked by surprise, and I still gotta retrieve those archives from the Jewish general, because I was bloodied up, and put on some meds. I was like kind of in a coma, so for a few days, I guess I lived my own silly Empire episode, and I survived that, and here I am now, having survived that, having survived COVID, having survived being depressed and suicidal, and that's where we are here. I spent a few years in one foot in alleys such as this, and one foot in the libraries, reading, studying, learning, and the great geopolitical theoretical analysis, which fundamentally in essence is for the North American complex. And I gotta give a salutation, some rock and roll to the public workers. Whenever I see, kind of make an assessment, it looks pretty secure, but it's pretty secure. Public workers who change the aqueducts, the sewers, and those who build them, the North American Collective, and those who build them, and those who are gonna build them in the future, in the past also. Takes a little bit of that past. Present takes a little bit of that old school. 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 Old school with a new school, and now we're gonna discuss something which is gonna take the old school and the new school, the DRT. Super important to discuss the DRT, as we're gonna go, of course, to the mountain, as we move towards this even tougher economic situation, as of course I have predicted what's happening now and back in 2019, and of course the cost of living keeps increasing. The cost of living keeps increasing. The cost of living keeps increasing. As a matter of fact, he says fully. So I wonder how much rent has gone up in the past 5 years here, average percentage, because I know lots of rents have been going up in the island of Montreal and beyond in North America, and I do hear horror stories, and we got to find some solution. We got to build more social housing, but who builds it? Construction workers, rock and roll, baby, with that. Got to salute LOVE and support the construction workers. I do, and I will, to build the 4. Speaking of the 4, kind of credit the construction workers some massages, some rock and roll massages, some feet washes, and of course the 4R, the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, and the Canadian US border, and the Canadian US border, and the Canadian US border. I will to build to be 11 times bigger than the Hardball Ball, where the Hardball Ball was played, and that was where the Caesars now is known as the Caesars Superdome. Before it used to be known as the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, and before that, Louisiana Superdome. Changed names several times, changed names. Just like I changed name, but officially still to pay to get that change on the paper. But in my heart, I guess dragon became dragon became dragon. Motto of the Dragon Army is nobody is born a dragon, and of course that is what we gotta be doing. And to build the 4, the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, to be 11 times bigger than the current sports arena where my 49ers lost in the Hardball Ball. And Hardball Ball was also known as the Blackout Ball, also known as the Bro Ball, where my 49ers lost by 3 points. One of my top 5 Super Bowls has several nicknames, known as the Bro Ball, known as the Blackout Ball, known as the Blackout Balls, also Bro Ball. One of my top 5 is 49ers paradoxically losing by 3 points, losing by 3 points. And they played in the Louisiana. It was known before as the Mercedes-Benz. Now it's known as the Caesar Superdome. And of course, let's build on the Canadian-US border the a coliseum, a biggest ever sports arena facility, biggest sports arena facility, the biggest sports arena facility, the biggest sports arena facilities ever built, 11 times bigger, 11 times bigger, 11 times bigger than the current Caesar Superdome, where we're gonna have sportis in perpetuities. We're gonna have sportis in perpetuities, meaning sports in perpetuities, and where me and Donald Trump are gonna have an inauguration match, because I've been him and I'm carrying in the backpack those red gloves, RED, by which I've been him and will continue to challenge Donald Trump to a boxing match ever since 2018, because Donald Trump made the mistake to impose tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel, and made the mistake to impose tariffs on aluminum and steel, and that was the mistake Donald Trump made, because Granddaddy Trump, I would have voted Kamala or Biden, but we're not enemies. We got to get that as a Democratic Republican. We got to build it for the biggest ever sports coliseum on the Canadian-US border. Is we're gonna get rid of the border and also build a forgotten goddess temple in parallel to that sports fitness arena, which is going to be the most majestic sports coliseum, where we're going to have sports in perpetuity, 24/7 sports and fitness activity, the NFL, NHL, NBA, MLB, and other sports such as boxing and dancing is my favorite sport, and all sorts of sports are going to be played in universities and colleges, and special events for the public workers, because it's my dream. The Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom is fundamentally a public-private partnership affair, and that's how we're going to get rolling with that to build it. And parallel to that biggest sports coliseum arena, of course, we're going to build a forgotten goddess temple, because I created my survival to the goddess, or GODDSS, to the goddess, and the forgotten goddess temple, to be 11 times bigger than this oratory in Montreal, the oratory in Montreal, to be bigger than the oratory in Montreal, that's what it's gonna be, but to be 11 times bigger than the oratory in Montreal, and so we're gonna get doing, So that's gonna be the forgotten goddess temple, forgotten goddess temple, the forgotten goddess temple, and that's what it is gonna be. And so we're gonna get rock and rolling, the forgotten goddess temple, which is gonna be 11 times bigger than this oratory, this oratory, of course, which we have here, which is gonna be built so much beautiful here as we go, and so we're gonna get doing, man, So here we go, that's the oratory, and we're gonna build it 11 times bigger than bigger than this. We're gonna build that forgotten goddess temple. We're gonna build the forgotten goddess temple, and of course we're gonna build the pyramid, the house of the dragon, the red scarlet, and red scarlet crimson, and of course that's what it is, and that's what it is with that, and that's how we gotta get doing. This was concerned. That's what it is with that, and that's how we gotta get on the left, right, and there, and that's how we're gonna get doing on doing the side of things, and we gotta get doing on now, and we're gonna get on those parameters to build the pyramid, the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, and that's how we're gonna get doing. And building with that, and of course the house, Rainbow People's Palace, the Rainbow People's Palace, for my fellow LGBTQ community and neurodivergent community, and the goddess temple, where I created 700 trains of kisses, marching steps, and rock and roll, and kisses, marching steps, and rock and roll. That's how we're gonna get drilling on that, with the kisses and marches and rock and roll. That's how we're gonna get drilling on that, and we're gonna build it 11 times the goddess temple, because I created me surviving COVID to the goddess, and 11 times bigger than the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, and that's how we're gonna get doing on that, you know. We're gonna get doing on that left, right, and Z, and that's how we're gonna get doing on the go there for the left, right, and Z, and we're gonna get it doing on that, man. And it's something which I gotta get building the 4 is super important. To build the 4, the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, the Forgotten Goddess Temple, and of course, me and Donald Trump, we're going to inaugurate the North American People's Imperial Coliseum. It's going to be Canada, United States built. We're going to get rid of the border, and we're going to implement the North American integrated new 911 Dragon protocols, the new 911 Dragon protocols, which I've written in the past, and for total security, total service, the new 911 total protocols to get doing on that. And so we're gonna get doing on that, and so we're gonna get doing, you know, so something which we have, you know, this is I get doing on that, you know, so I was gonna build those 4, and so we're gonna be thrilling to do, man. And so we're gonna get via the DRT, implementing the DRT, we're gonna be able to do that. And so we're gonna get doing to build and the DRT. And here we got Saint Jean coming up. I see Quebec flags are already lined up, and got Canada Day, gonna celebrate it all. And it's the Quebecer Canadian who was born in the USA, you know, super important for me. Independence Day, because I was born in the United States 3 times post 7076 and 3 times post 7076. Once as a man, once as a woman, correction, twice as a man. And so I'm gonna get doing, man. Smells good. Can't afford really to go buying anything, you know. So I'm really broke, to be honest, and really broke, and that's what I gotta get doing. But financial stress, but I'm happy to see people are going out. But just be careful with the credit cards, because you know that interest, and now we have record-breaking credit card debt. So speaking of record-breaking credit card debt, I'm gonna have to address the DRT and discuss the DRT as I look at that beautiful flower pot. And of course I'm gonna swing those hips left and right, swing those hips left and right, you know. So the DRT, debt refusion theory for the creation of the UE. That's what we're gonna get into do building, and so we're gonna need to do building on that, you know, something which we have to implement, and we're gonna have to be implemented on that rock and roll, you know, because we're on the verge of a public financial collapse due to the record-breaking debt, you know, record-breaking debt which we have, and it's of course something which we have to implement. And by that we're gonna be able to build the North American People's Imperial Coliseum. I want to come once here. Is it open? I'm not sure. Is it gonna open or it closed? I'm not really sure, Uncle Potato. So by implementing my DRT theory, we're gonna be able to build the 4, construct the 444, which I discussed, the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, to be the biggest sports arena ever built in the history of the world, where me and Donald Trump are gonna fight in a sportsmanship like boxing match, you know, and the Forgotten Goddess Temple with it, and Rainbow People's Palace, and and that's how we got. And so we gotta get doing, man. And the Rainbow People's Palace and the Imperial People's Palace and the Rainbow People's Palace with that for my fellow neurodivergent community, and neurodivergent community with that. And so we gotta get doing like that, man. North American People's Imperial Coliseum, the House of the Dragon, Pyramid Scarlet and Crimson are basically shades of red. Gonna build the Pyramid House of the Dragon, Pyramid, and the Rainbow People's Palace. And we have to implement the DRT. The DRT stands for Debt Refusion Theory. Gonna now discuss it before I switch to that French, because we la belle province. So the DRT, Debt Refusion Theory, is my theory. You have to implement it. We are at an emergency critical point because we're on the verge of a public financial collapse right now. Maybe Monday, first Monday of summer, we have a stock market crash because we have so much debt, which has increased, and parallel to so much debt, rents, thus the cost of living, also the prices of eggs, of bread, of daily expenses. Even me in my past video, you see sometimes I show certain goods which I used to buy at lower price, and now how they increased. For example, the famous ones, the wafers, who went from $1 to $1.25, and finally they went from $1.25 to $1.39. So that is exactly 39% increase. 39% increase, 39% increase. 39% from $1 to $1.39. First it went to $1.25. It's 39, and I don't know. I'm just making a meditation now. I'm just wondering how much has rent increased here. How much has rent increased here? Average. There's an average. There's a case by case for different apartment types, right? The size of the apartment also is to be taken into consideration. The size of the apartment is also to be taken into consideration. Such things, of course, which have to be considered. But nonetheless, there's of course the average of whatever the case may be. So basically the DRT, we're on the verge of a critical point, a collapse. That's how we have to implement my DRT theory, the debt refusion theory. So I'm going to explain what it is. So the DRT theory, debt refusion theory, integrates monetary integration theory. Monetary integration theory, of course, is the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union. Monetary integration theory is the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union by the Europeans. By the Europeans. By the Europeans. So we're going to implement the DRT, the debt refusion theory. The DRT, debt refusion theory. We have to. Paradoxically, is the solution. You can argue all you want, but there's no solution. Now there's no solution. Now there's no solution. The DRT theory, there's no solution. There's no solution. There's no solution. The DRT theory. But the DRT theory, or something similar, very, very similar to my theory in essence. So if not my debt refusion theory, there's something which resembles it very closely in theory and practice, because we have to implement. So this theory has to be implemented, and I've been sounding the alarm for a long time, because there's a record-breaking interest, you know. The interest payments parallel with the credit card debts has of course increased the cost of living, the cost of cheese, milk, bread, butter, onions, all these daily things which of course have increased and have continued to increase. So of course this increase is problematic. Big problems, big potential for a collapse. It's no joke, and we have to implement it. And paradoxically, my debt refusion theory is the solution. So I'm going to explain it. Keep in mind that my DRT theory, inside it, integrates the monetary integration theory. It's integrated in my theory. Again, monetary integration theory is the financial theory implemented in the European Union. So we're going to take all the by the creation of a common currency and a common central bank. The monetary integration theory, which is the theory the Europeans implemented in the 90s, is integrated in my DRT theory, in my debt refusion theory. Super important to focus and know that in my debt refusion theory, my DRT theory integrates the monetary integration theory in my debt refusion theory. Right? So we're going to take all the public and the private debt, including my $10,000 debt. We're going to take all the public and the private debt. My $10,000 debt, your $10,000 debt, whatever the case may be. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean, I have $10,000 in debt to the Royal Bank of Canada. So we're going to take my debt, no food waste. My debt, your debt, our debt. My debt, your debt, our debt. So my $10,000 debt, my $10,000 in debt, your $10,000 in debt, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, all the public and the private debt, we're going to convert the public and the private debt into US dollars. Into US dollars, into US dollars. So all the public and the private debt converted into US dollars, converted into US dollars. We're gonna add it with the US dollars, Add it together with the public-private debt of the US, with the public-private debt of the US. So all that debt, we're gonna add it all up. We're gonna convert it into US dollars. All that debt, public and private debt, including my $10,000. We're going to add all the public-private debt of Canada, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. All that money, we're going to convert it into US dollars, and we're going to add it with the public-private debt of the United States. That money, with the money circulation, is going to create a new central bank, and we're going to create a new central bank, like they did in Europe, and a new currency called the UE. U dot universal E dot exchange U dot unit. U dot universal E dot exchange U dot unit. The universal exchange, the UE, the U, the UE. U dot universal E dot exchange U dot unit. The UE, the UE, the UE. The UE, the UE, the UE. The universal exchange unit. U dot universal E dot exchange U dot unit. The UE, the UE, the universal exchange unit, which is going to have the value of the US dollar. We're going to put an interest rate level of 10%. There's not going to be able after that, after implementing my DRT theory, the debt refusion theory, we're not going to be able to have more than 10% interest rate. It's going to be 10% maximum 10%, maximum 10%, maximum 10%. Below that, 10%, we're going to be doing that. So all the 10% we're going to be doing on that. With that money, we're going to rebuild the infrastructure of the North American Collective. So via the implementation of my debt refusion for the creation of the universal exchange unit, the UE, U dot universal E dot exchange U dot in, the UE, the UE, we're gonna do lots of good for both the public mostly, because a lot of the private is good, for the public and the private. So we're gonna take all the public and the private debt, that's how we're gonna convert it. We're gonna rebuild the infrastructure of the North American Collective, and all that money we're gonna with all that money we're gonna also build new dams, hydroelectric dams. That's what we're gonna be doing, new hydroelectric dams. Of course, we're gonna create new hydroelectric dams. Of course, we're gonna rebuild the North American Collective, the collective civilizational collective. We're going to rebuild the infrastructure, the aqueducts across the 63. We're going to mass finance citizens to work out, train, exercise. We're going to mass finance citizens to work out, mass finance also tourism, to establish a strong esprit de corps, and of course it's for good wellness and general overall wellness. We're going to of course implement the theory by the implementation of my theory, the DRT, and the creation of the UE. That's what we're gonna be able to do. We're gonna be able to do that. So of course, that implementation will consequently launch the 63, because it has to be implemented binationally. Canada, United States. It could be extended beyond Canada, United States. But of course, most of the financial situation for both Canada and United States is consequentially, we're living in a similar situation financially, economically, Canada and United States. So that's why I'm making reference for the 10 provinces, 50 states, and 3 territories, which equals the 63 when I say the 63. So we're going to rebuild the infrastructure of North America, build more hydroelectric dams, build those 44 tunnels in case of a thermonuclear war. So we're going to have to start building them ASAP, and including my brothers and sisters which are incarcerated to do their Criminal Rehabilitation Act, my brothers and sisters who lost their liberty for the North American Rehabilitation Act, and got to pass the North American Criminal Rehabilitation Act by National Canada, United States, and of course start building the 44 tunnels inspired by the Cheyenne Mountain Complex, and of course inspired by the tunnels, paradoxically in Hamas tunnels, which they built after 2007 when they took power, because they were founded in the 80s during the Cold War, but they were not in power. Only 20-something years later they took power. Hamas, the organization Hamas, which of course attacked Israel on October 7th. So we're going to build those 44 tunnels for a thermonuclear war, and that's how we got to get doing. I'm building those 44 tunnels with that, and that's how we're going to get drilling with that, 44 tunnels in case of a thermonuclear war, and that's how we're going to get doing to build the tunnels for the North American continuity, or I written a document in case of a thermonuclear war to build mass underground structures in order for the North American Collective civilizational complex survival, and a bit against scholarly academic, but it's a public-private partnership, and by implementing my DRT theory, we're going to be able to build those 44, do lots of good, mass finance citizens fitness, mass finance tourism, build and finance also the implementation of the Golden Dome for Canada, Hawk Island, and of course parallel we're going to implement Operation Northern Scorpio based on my total mobile defense theory, by total mobile defense theory, by total mobile defense theory, the total mobile defense theory, the TMDT, the total mobile defense theory, the total mobile defense theory. That's what we're gonna do, and that's what we're gonna be implementing. The total mobile defense theory. That's what we're gonna be doing, man. The total mobile defense theory, and that's what we're gonna get doing with that. 22 seconds. That's how we're gonna get doing, man. So we're gonna get doing that and implement that total mobile defense theory, the TM DT, which to that 4-letter acronym, when we put an S, that becomes a system, meaning that we put it into action. We put it into practice, being the total mobile defense theory. It becomes a system that's put into action, it's put into place, and that's what we're gonna have to be doing and implement the total mobile defense theory. And that's what we're gonna have to be drilling to do it. And of course, that's what we're gonna have to be implementing with that and implementing on the go. And that's what we're gonna get doing on the left, right, Z. And we're gonna get drilling, you know, to get it on the go. And so we're gonna get doing on that, you know. So something which we have to be doing, the total mobile defense theory. Total mobile defense theory, the TM DT, total mobile defense theory, TM DT, total mobile defense. I cannot go too in depth in the theory because it's a theory, of course, which fundamentally is, I've written most of my writings and philosophies come post my 2017 trip when I came out of being depressed, and especially during COVID. And the Canadian Armed Forces got a salute. Need to paint that red, and we need to get the Dragon Army and build those tunnels by the implementation of my DRT theory. We're going to do lots of good. We're going to finance the rebuilding of the bridges of North American, the 44, the North American Collective Civilizational Complex. And we're going to build the North American Civilizational Complex and build the 44 tunnels and mass finance citizens and mass finance citizens fitness and mass finance tourism and mass finance the collective North American security for total SSD via the Operation Northern Scorpio, which is based on the total mobile defense theory, coast to coast, ocean to ocean for the 63. When we add an S to that 4-letter acronym, there's 5 letters, TM, DT, and the S. When it becomes a system, that means that my total mobile defense theory is put into practice and action, which we're going to do by the implementation of the DRT, pledge your allegiance, friends will benefit only, beautiful flowers, beautiful flower field. And of course, we're going to get intent to go get hydration, and that's what we got to get doing on that, the hydration side of things. And we're going to do on that love, and we're going to implement, of course, the North American, for North America, we're going to build those 4, and of course implement those North American Civilizational Complex for the defense, only for SSD, security service and defense, to be understood for the 63, and build and finance the 2 complementary covenant and cooperative institution, the Dragon Army, the North American Imperial, SSD Legion, and the Dragon Army, that's the Dragon Army, the North American SSD Legion, and the Dragon Army, to be, of course, for total security, total service, and parallel with the Dancing Goddess Army. The Dancing Goddess Army, that's what we're gonna get drilling with that, and so we gotta get doing the Dancing Goddess Army, and that's what we're gonna get doing. The Dancing Goddess Army, to be for total security, total service, total defense, and that's what we're gonna get doing, man. We have to be doing it, and that's what we have to be doing it on that, and so we're gonna get doing on that, man. So we're gonna get doing, man, you know, to getting on the do. And that's what we're gonna get doing, you know. So we're gonna get loving, you know. Yeah. Pledge your allegiance, and switch to that French. So by the DRT, we're gonna be able to do that and implement that and do that. And here we reach the second home, the mountain, and so we're gonna get doing to do and implement that theory, the total mobile defense theory via the DRT. It's what it can save us, because we pay so much interest and so much credit card debt that there's no other way, my brothers and sisters. There's really no other way. You can argue all you want. There's no way out of this situation. That's the problem. There's no way out of the current crisis. But something which resembles my DRT theory, the debt refusion theory. Too many credit cards maxed out. Canada, United States last month have been reaching record-breaking levels. The paradox, the parallel, the double financial stress, commercial economic for people, majority of people, rent prices and cost of living, the daily expenses, parallel to credit cards being maxed out, and the stagnation of most of the salaries. Most of the salaries have stagnated. That's why we gotta get the binational salvation front. That's why we have to get the binational salvation front. That's why we got to get the binational salvation front, That's just what we have to be doing. The binational salvation front has to be implemented. For the Dragon Kingdom, the dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom is fundamentally a binational national salvation front. Gotta get that NACWP, the North American Collective Workers Party, and by the DRT, the debt refusion theory, we're also gonna rebuild the ghettos. We're also gonna rebuild the North American ghettos, aka the North American inner urban cities. The ghettos of North America, we're gonna have to rebuild and mass finance fitness, mass finance my workout via public-private partnership with all existing public-private institutions, banks, and social media, and telecommunications, and technology corporations and institutions, and all public and private police institutions, and also implement my new 911 Dragon Army, new 911 North American Collective 911 protocols for total security, total service, total defense, as we're gonna move our security service to integrate in the SSD, security and defense. And we need to get for the Dragon Army, aka the North American SSD Legion, 3 uniforms: the red, the white and the black. The red, the white and the black. The red, the white and the black. The red, the white and the black, for black, and the rainbow for referee. Black, I guess, for security. White for service. Red for defense, or defense red, white for service, and the rainbow for rainbow, of course, to be rainbow for the collective and to referee them, So that's what we need to be doing, man, and we need to get him moving on the ASAP. Here we are at the mountain. We're gonna go around the bottom on the side, and that's how we're gonna get drilling on that, and that's where we are, and gonna watch a little bit of that loving, and that's how we're gonna get doing, For the XYZ here, you can come and lounge a bit, and we're gonna switch a little bit to that French, because we hear our bell province, and that's how we gotta get drilling for that, and we gotta get drilling on the go, and gotta get on the left and on the right and in the middle, and I'm gonna mass finance fitness and citizens to work out, citizens to train, citizens fitness, super mobile training program system. We're gonna get it to integrate it and to do the DRT. The DRT is the solution. It requires the public-private partnership, millionaires, billionaires. They're gonna have to work together. We're gonna have to work together on a mass DRT implementation. There's just no way out of this. We're on the verge of a public and private financial collapse. Just that's how it is. There's no arguing. Something similar to the DRT has to be implemented. There's just no way, where we are now situationally, financially. There's just no other way. That's the theory which we have to implement. You can't argue with it because the numbers are there. The financial numbers, the record debt is of course consequently of a record. The record debt levels, both public and the private, and the amount of interest. That's the proof is in the pudding. So here we're gonna hydrate the graph range. Usually I let about 10 seconds, for the pipes to clear a bit. Well, actually I'm gonna just fill my bottle also. Fill my bottle. HYDRAT. Oh yeah, that was some good hydration, and now we're gonna go on the side, man. Here I can let my main out, I guess, already. Cause already on the already gonna let the main out and in and out today because already got a lot last week. Yesterday did a lot. All this week, Monday to Thursday, the 4 days. Today's the 5th day. Did a lot of marching and a lot of workouts. So today's gonna be on the still a good one, still a long one, but since we got the backpack, it's overly on it. So there we go. Oh yeah, feels good here and feel good at hydration and the DRT pledge your allegiance, you know how and that's how we gotta get it, man. And here we are. Jean Beliveau skates, if you're a hockey fan. 11th of February 1971. 11th of February 1971, and you see he's holding two bottles. He scored 11th of February 1971, the 500 goals, and those are immortalized there. So let's go, and I gotta give a shout out, I'm gonna give a shout out, to give a shout out to get it on the go, and here give a shout out to give those who put their public embellishment of the public lands. There's something which we gotta get doing with that, and the public lands here, it's kind of cute. So give a shout out to the public workers. And that's what we're gonna get doing with that, and we're gonna go doing by the side, man. We're gonna enter by the side, and we're gonna get doing on the. Love coming here, love seeing people coming here, and it's always something which I am excited to come. It's my second home, my mistress, the forest on the mountain, my mistress, the forest on the mountain, my mistress. my doctor mountain, my home, my second home. I will to be buried a third of me here in the back of the Belvedere Conjunac. A third of me sent to Papa Crowley in Hampton, New Jersey. Hampton, New Jersey, not far. Over in the 50 states across the border, Hampton, New Jersey. And a third of me in the city of the pyramids. And now we're gonna switch a little bit of that French. A little bit of that French, because where we at? We in La Belle province. So pledge your allegiance to our family, support the DRT, Debt Refusion TV, for the creation of the two complementary covenant and cooperative institutions, the Dragon Army and the Dancing Goddess Army, and vis-a-vis the public-private partnership, of course, which we have to be doing and we have to be implementing it. And so we have to be rock and rolling on that, and that's something which we have to be doing ASAP, you know, to get it on the go and get it on the now, and that's what we have to get doing on that, you know, something which we have to be on the blessings that we have here, and that's how we gotta get loving, man. DRT pledge allegiance to our family, rock and roll it for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the firefighters, and all those, you know. Français, on est déjà rendu sur la montagne, québécoise, donc je vous invite à faire de l'entraînement physique. C'est quelque chose que je dois le dire dans cette considération, bien sûr, qu'on est rendu. Je dois commencer avec la gratitude. Puis la gratitude, bien sûr, c'est quelque chose qui est important que je commence avec. Puis moi-même, j'adore venir ici. Fait que je me sens toujours bien. Fait que pour les pompiers, les camionneurs, les boulangers, dans les boulangeries, tous ceux, bien sûr, qui font le travail du déménagement. Je suis en attente pour le travail. Je suis toujours prêt pour le travail. Mais vous savez que chez nous, mais je veux dire chez nous, pas juste chez nous en tant que le dragon arc-en-ciel, you know, artiste, athlète, analyste et théoricien géopolitique, le fait bien sûr que c'est une affaire d'avoir bien sûr de la nourriture, c'est important, mais bien sûr de l'art des fermes, puis de savoir que dans une institution comme, ben pas une institution seulement, mais comme la belle province, le Québec, bien sûr, que ça fasse la bonne fête dans le parc, que j'aime ça voir les gens fêter, mais vous savez que nous, les aspis, le problème c'est que on est neurodivergents d'une manière. Moi, je vis avec une condition qui s'appelle l'Asperger's. Donc, à cause de cet Asperger's, bien sûr, à cause de cet Asperger's, bien sûr, c'est une chose, bien sûr, que je dois vivre avec. Puis, je dois toujours faire la gestion, bien sûr, mais je dois toujours faire la gestion de mes caractéristiques. Parce que c'est pas, bien sûr, une maladie mentale, c'est une condition de neurodivergence. Et cette condition de neurodivergence, ça fait bien sûr qu'on voit le monde différemment. Puis encore une fois, l'Asperger's, il n'y a pas bien des gens qui ont cette condition. L'Asperger's, c'est une condition de neurodivergence. Ça fait bien sûr qu'on est bien sûr différent de la majorité des citoyens. Vous, la plupart des citoyens de 99,56%, vous êtes les neurotypiques. Nous, les Asperger's, les autistes hautement fonctionnels, on est 0,44%, moins d'1%, moins de la moitié d'un pourcentage. C'est quelque chose de bien sûr qu'il faut le faire dans la conclusion de voir où qu'on est rendu, puis voir qu'on a un certain point de convergence où que je dois bâtir des ponts, toujours bâtir des ponts de communication et de compréhension de moi-même, puis ma différence vis-à-vis votre point de vue qui est de la majorité des neurotypiques. Il y a bien des citoyens et des citoyennes qui ne savent même pas c'est quoi l'Asperger's. Puisque la moitié, il faut que je leur dise un peu, le résumé, là, parce que c'est sûr que pour pas les expliquer, je les invite à lire un livre sur l'Asperger's, puis je dois saluer, puis avec gratitude, remercier mon ami anonyme qui m'avait donné un livre sur l'Asperger's. Ça s'appelait en anglais, je l'ai lu en anglais, c'était en anglais, là, mais c'était apprécier l'Asperger's, apprécier et comprendre l'Asperger's, parce que ça m'a fait apprendre beaucoup, parce que moi, ça fait bien des années, tu sais, qu'on m'avait diagnostiqué, puis qu'on m'avait dit, bien sûr, que j'ai l'Asperger's, puis bien sûr, c'est l'Asperger's qui est cette condition avec laquelle je vis, puis il n'y a pas de médicaments, il n'y a pas de traitement pour cette condition de neurodivergence. Nous, notre cerveau, il y a des mutations. Fait que grâce à ces mutations, à cause de ces mutations, puis encore une fois, la cause n'est pas, il n'y a pas de conclusion à 100%. Qu'est-ce qui cause l'Asperger? C'est une combinaison ou juste génétique, ou environnementale. Puis ABC, c'est une chaîne de télévision des États-Unis. Ils ont fait un documentaire que je dois faire une révision puis réécouter encore une fois. Ils disent, leur thèse, c'est que l'Asperger's est un point d'évolution, un point d'évolutif, une évolution humaine, une évolution. Ça, je ne sais pas pour me prononcer que c'est une point d'évolution, peut-être. Je ne suis pas un neuroscientifique. La neurologie, moi, nous, les Asperger's, on fait partie d'une petite communauté. Je fais partie de cette petite communauté d'Asperger's. On est moins d'1% de la population, même la moitié d'un pourcentage, 0,44%. Nous, on a ce qu'on appelle les intérêts spéciaux, aussi connus comme intérêts obsessifs. Mais je n'utilise pas obsessif parce qu'obsessif, c'est un peu négatif. C'est négatif un peu parce que moi, quand j'étudie la géopolitique, puis je fais mes théories puis mes analyses en géopolitique, oui, je suis super intense, super dedans, super concentré, comme quand je fais mes marches d'entraînement de danse, parce que la danse est mon sport préféré, puis vis-à-vis, parallèlement à la géopolitique, mes intérêts spéciaux, mon intérêt spécial, aussi connu comme obsessif, c'est la géopolitique. Et aussi, le troisième, pour ma trinité, c'est le rock and roll. Fait que des fois, je pars chanter du rock and roll parce que je chante du rock and roll, puis je fais l'analyse en géopolitique au quotidien, puis l'entraînement physique au quotidien. Puis quand je fais référence à mon travail, auquel je prends beaucoup de fierté, mon travail en géopolitique, j'ai prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant en 2019. J'ai la preuve, j'ai la vidéo en ligne quand je suis en train de regarder si les chevaux de la police sont là proche de ma deuxième maison dans la montagne. Puis moi, bien sûr, je crois à des réincarnations, bien sûr. Les réincarnations, j'ai vécu des fois, j'étais né femme, homme, puis j'étais né proche d'ici, de la montagne. Une fois, j'ai rencontré Louis Cyr. Une fois, en 1700, je vivais entre 1688 et 1735, où j'étais québécois, j'étais une femme, par exemple. Fait que c'est pour ça, aujourd'hui, je balance. Je dis que je suis androgyne, pansexuel, je suis partie de la communauté LGBTQ, puis bien sûr, dans ce point de convergence, je suis monsieur, madame. Monsieur, madame, ça veut dire que je suis androgyne. Et que peut-être grâce à mes réincarnations, des fois j'ai été né homme, des fois j'ai été né femme, des fois homme, etc., etc. Je ne rentrerai pas dans un point de mystique, là, mais je crois à Dieu, déesse. Ma spiritualité est pas mal rock'n'roll. Les bras de Louis Cyr, rock'n'roll, les chansons de Céline ensemble. Je sais pas j'ai pas toutes les réponses. Là. J'ai ma spiritualité mystique un peu, tu sais. Pas de problème. Lavage de pieds, mais c'est juste des amis avec bénéfice que je veux maintenant. Là. Juste des amis avec bénéfice. Des amis avec bénéfice, juste des amis avec bénéfice, juste des amis avec bénéfice, des amis avec bénéfice, des amis avec bénéfice. Seulement maintenant, des amis avec bénéfice, c'est quelque chose que je vais en faire, bien sûr, dans ce point de convergence, c'est des amis avec bénéfice. Des amis avec bénéfice. Seulement des amis avec bénéfice. Des amis avec bénéfice seulement. Des amis avec bénéfice. Et donc, dans ce point de convergence, c'est un point de situation lequel qu'on vit, c'est un point de situation dans lequel qu'on vit. Non. Enough. I've done it one. Ouais, c'est ça. Et voilà. Et bien, fait que c'est ça l'Asperger, c'est la condition de neurodivergence. Ça fait que nous, les Aspis, on voit le monde différemment. On a ces mutations, fait que je dois vivre avec, il n'y a pas de médicaments, je dois juste... Nous, les Aspergers, les Aspis, on doit faire la gestion. Hey, qu'est-ce que vous faites? Là, je vous dérange pas, manger, il n'y a pas de problème. Pas besoin de vous faire la chasse comme à 1700, là, parce que là, j'ai de quoi dans mon sac à dos pour me nourrir moi-même. Quand je rentre dans la montagne, j'essaie juste finir la discussion sur l'Asperger's. Fait que l'Asperger's, c'est cette condition de neurodivergence. Ça fait que nous, on voit le monde différemment. On a ces mutations dans le cerveau, mais on peut avoir des des difficultés dans les relations sociales. Parce que des fois, comment on communique, ou des fois on peut être direct, on peut dire des choses qui offensent, les dire directement, puis on peut offenser les gens. Puis ça peut être un problème. Puis malheureusement, chez ma petite communauté de 0,44%, pas bien les Asperger dans le monde, c'est un gros problème, le taux de chômage. Il est très, très élevé. Écoutez ça, c'est entre 60 et 80% des gens comme moi, qui sont neurodivergents, Asperger, qui sont sans emploi. Sans emploi, sans emploi, sans emploi. Entre 60 et 80, entre 60 et 80. Entre 60 et 80. Et aussi, parallèlement, avec ce taux qui est inacceptable, là, comme pour la société du Québec, c'est inacceptable, là, du Collectif de l'Amérique du Nord, c'est inacceptable. Parce qu'il y a bien du travail à faire, c'est pas une maladie mentale, l'Asperger's. Oui, dans certaines choses, on a de la misère. On a de la misère. On a de la misère. Moi, j'ai pas besoin de grand soutien, mais à cause que les intérêts spéciaux, par exemple, on peut être super concentré, super dedans, super intense. Ça peut qu'on... C'est possible qu'on néglige certaines choses. C'est possible qu'on néglige certaines choses. Qu'on néglige certaines choses. Puis moi, c'est la géopolitique, 24/24. Je prends beaucoup de fierté. Je suis moi-même un analyste et théoricien en géopolitique indépendant. Je dois le répéter, puis j'ai la preuve pour ce que je vais vous dire. Je ne me prononce pas ainsi, là, de même. J'ai prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant dans le monde, d'une manière générale, pas à chaque détail. J'ai pas prévu que le 7 octobre 2023, Hamas va pénétrer par 44 points Israël, puis ils vont l'attaquer. Là, mais j'ai prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant de manière générale. Là. En novembre 2019, j'ai même fait la création en conséquence de qu'est-ce que j'appelle l'entraînement du dragon ou l'entraînement général de la guerre totale intégrée. J'ai écrit, puis j'ai moi-même fait plus que 372. J'ai moi-même fait plus que 372, plus que 372, plus que 372 sessions de mon propre système d'entraînement physique que j'ai créé moi-même en 2019, en octobre, en novembre. Et je vous fais un avertissement ici quand vous rentrez dans la forêt, sur la montagne. Soyez prudents, car et parce que ici, là, il y a un risque de chute. C'est un risque de chute, puis c'est un risque que bien sûr, les arbres ne sont pas si enchantés, surtout après une tempête, la pluie. On peut avoir des branches et même des arbres qui peuvent tomber. Fait que si vous entendez du bruit, que ça craque, soyez prêts puis pour vous élancer, pour vous sauver, pour courir, etc. Puis, bien sûr, le plus de temps que vous passez dans la forêt, le moins vite que vous marchez, le moins que vous êtes à risque, évidemment, parce que les branches peuvent tomber. Puis je l'ai sur caméra. Je l'ai poigné, il y a un couple de mois sur la caméra. L'année passée, c'est tombé comme un couple de mètres. Là. Vous voyez, ça tombe. Mais ça peut tomber ici dans la forêt. Fait que, de retour sur l'Asperger's, cette condition de neurodivergence, ça fait que on peut avoir certaines caractéristiques bizarres, telles que dans le marché, mettons, quand vous allez faire des commissions, vous allez voir quelqu'un, comme moi-même, je le fais souvent, puis je le fais, ça fait des années. J'inspecte un objet proche de mon visage, je regarde les détails qui sont écrits sur le produit, que ce soit des gaufres, que ce soit des produits laitiers, que ce soit des canettes, que ce soit de la confiture ou d'autres produits. Je regarde les grammes, combien ça coûte, je fais un calcul mental, combien ça coûte par gramme, etc. Puis des fois, je regarde, ça fait longtemps avant que la guerre commerciale d'aujourd'hui commence, que je regarde le pays d'origine. Puis je soutiens, bien sûr, même avant que ça commence, maintenant, même avant que ça commence, maintenant, même avant que ça commence, maintenant, dans la circonstance que ça commence maintenant, bien sûr, dans la situation qu'on est rendu aujourd'hui, avoir une guerre commerciale, puis bien sûr, en tant qu'analyste et théoricien en géopolitique, j'ai prévu la situation actuelle, je l'ai prévu. Moi, je suis un analyste et théoricien en géopolitique, c'est mon intérêt spécial. Puis malheureusement, chez les Asperger's, il n'y a pas seulement un gros taux de sans-emploi, de chômage, entre 60 et 80. Ça veut dire que pour chaque neurotypique, la grosse majorité des citoyens de 99,56% que vous avez en emploi, c'est 11 fois plus. Chez les Asperger, le taux de chômage, c'est 11 fois plus en mathématiques. C'est inacceptable, là. 11 fois plus. Puis moi, j'ai eu bien de l'emploi qu'on a. Ben, les aspis, on a bien de l'emploi, on trouve de l'emploi, mais on ne le garde pas. On a de la misère à garder parce qu'on est différent, tu sais. Fait que ces différences, des fois, ça peut causer une angoisse à cause de certaines caractéristiques telles que s'approcher trop proche des gens. On va s'approcher trop proche des gens dans la discussion. Il faut nous dire, hey, tu peux-tu juste prendre un pied de distance, 1 mètre de distance, pas un pas, recule d'un pas, de 2 pas. Fait on va reculer d'un pas ou 2 pas. Pas de problème, moi j'aime pas la violence, hein. J'aime pas la violence, je n'aime pas la violence. Je l'ai vécu, je me suis fait attaquer par surprise, là, la couple d'années, je suis tombé, j'ai connu ma tête, puis j'étais tout ensanglé, puis j'avais le bras droit disloqué, l'épaule, j'étais à l'hôpital général juif, puis il faudrait que j'aille bientôt, je prépare la semaine prochaine avant le 1er juillet, pour retrouver les archives de cet événement, puis j'ai survécu ça, ils m'ont mis, les docteurs, c'est un médicament pour la douleur, puis j'étais comme dans un coma, puis j'ai de la misère à me souvenir, je m'en souviens, genre, ma vie avant 2014. Puis c'est possible que le 1er juillet, j'ai déménagé soit en 2016 ou 2015. Puis j'ai vécu la dépression puis être suicidaire un couple d'années. J'étais en dépression puis suicidaire. Là. Puis ça, c'est un gros... Encore chez les Asperger, chez les Aspis, il y a un gros taux de suicide. Le taux de suicide puis de dépression est très élevé. Un gros, là, c'est énorme. C'est 9 fois plus que la majorité de la population. Les neurotypiques dont vous faites partie, les 99, 99,56%, les 99+%, comparé à nous, les moins de la moitié d'un pourcentage, moins d'1%, 0,44%. Fait que parallèlement, chez les Asperger, il y a un double problème qu'on rencontre. Le manque d'emploi continue à long terme, parce que bien des aspects, on a de l'emploi, comme moi-même, j'en ai eu bien des emplois, j'ai bien aimé, je suis tout assez soldé. C'est 2-3 mois, 2-3 semaines, un couple de jours, un couple de semaines, un couple de mois, puis après ça, blablabla. Puis après ça, on se retrouve sans emploi. Et le taux de dépression puis suicide. Puis moi, qu'est-ce qui m'a fait sortir de ma dépression puis être suicidaire, c'est quand j'ai traversé le Canada de côte à côte. Quand j'ai traversé le Canada de côte à côte, en 2017. En 2017, en octobre, correction, 2017, en août et en septembre. En août et en septembre, j'ai même les billets. En août, je suis allé à Vancouver, Colombie-Britannique, par le bus, on a pris le bus. Puis en septembre, par le train, on a pris le train, 25 heures et 44 minutes. Pour aller de Montréal à Halifax. Cet événement, ça a complètement changé ma vie. J'étais en dépression et suicidaire avant ça, puis ça m'a fait établir un esprit de corps solide avec le Québec, le Canada, les États-Unis, qu'est-ce que j'appelle en tant que philosophe, le grand collectif d'association de l'Amérique du Nord. Donc j'ai établi un grand esprit de corps solide. Je vous considère comme ma famille, même si des fois, on est dysfonctionnel, on s'entend pas, mais j'aime pas la violence, comme je l'ai dit, mais je suis hyper vigilant, je vis en hyper vigilant, puis je suis juste pour la défense. Mes protocoles d'initiative pour qu'est-ce que j'appelle le royaume de la déesse et du dragon qui danse sont fondamentalement un appel à un partenariat public-privé. Sont fondamentalement un appel à un partenariat public-privé pour le collectif d'association de l'Amérique du Nord, donc les 10 provinces, 50 États et 3 territoires, constituant les 63 nouveaux États qu'on va formuler pour le fusionnement du Canada et des États-Unis. Puis maintenant, qu'est-ce que je vais dire? C'est un principe de la géopolitique. Vous pouvez dire seulement oui à ça. Cette déclaration, c'est oui, c'est pas non peut-être. Ça, c'est constamment la même chose. Comme le symbole pi des mathématiques, le symbole pi qui représente bien sûr la relation du cercle du diamètre. C'est 3.1416 en relation avec la sphère, le diamètre. Et bien sûr, c'est en relation avec le cercle, la circonférence. C'est ce symbole qui s'appelle pi. Fait que cette déclaration, vous pouvez faire la comparaison avec ce symbole que c'était constamment la même chose, ça ne change pas, mais c'est le symbole pi mathématique. Nous, les Québécois, Canadiens, Québécois, puis vice-versa pour les Américains, notre premier intérêt là, pour la politique externe, la politique externe en géopolitique, parce que je ne parle pas de la politique interne, domestique, du Canada interne, pour une bonne santé, puis pour le bien-être, etc., puis pour l'économie, les finances, puis la production. Externe, je parle. Notre intérêt principalement, fondamentalement, c'est d'avoir les meilleures relations avec les États-Unis. Les meilleures relations avec les États-Unis. Ça, c'est notre intérêt principalement, fondamentalement, c'est d'avoir les meilleures relations avec les États-Unis, puis vice-versa, les États-Unis, c'est avoir les meilleures relations économiques, financières, commerciales, de défense, de sécurité, etc., avec nous. Ça a été comme ça dans le 20e siècle, c'est comme ça aujourd'hui, puis ça sera comme ça dans le 21e siècle. Il faut dire oui à cette déclaration que nous, notre intérêt principalement, je parle de la politique externe. En première place, numéro un, fondamentalement, nous, là, c'est d'avoir les meilleures relations avec les États-Unis. Il n'y a pas de non peut-être à ça. C'est constamment ça pour nous. C'est ça qu'il faut comprendre, nos chefs, il faut comprendre ça 100%. Sinon, on ne peut pas avancer, vous comprenez? On ne peut pas avancer, là. Fait que notre politique externe, c'est d'avoir les meilleures relations économiques, financières, commerciales avec les États-Unis. On a ce grand destin commun du grand collectif de civilisation de l'Amérique du Nord. Donc ici, bien sûr, on a fait le grand compromis linguistique, on a fait le grand compromis linguistique, le grand compromis du français, le grand compromis linguistique. Vous comprenez, le grand compromis linguistique du français. Et bien sûr, le grand compromis linguistique du français, on continue à le faire. C'est quelque chose, bien sûr, qu'on va commencer à faire, puis on va pouvoir le faire dans ce grand compromis de la civilisation, de la sécurité, de l'individu, de la liberté, de la souveraineté de l'individu vis-à-vis du collectif. C'est comme quand je parle du recyclage, je montre souvent que vous ne le faites pas dans le recyclage, il y a des gens qui ne le font pas, ou qui le font moins que les autres. Il ne faut pas généraliser, bien sûr. Il ne faut pas généraliser, bien sûr. Fait que d'une manière qu'on généralise, bien sûr, c'est quelque chose, bien sûr, qu'il faut qu'on le fasse nous aussi comme individus. Qu'individu, il faut qu'on le fasse nous-mêmes, bien sûr. Dans l'individu, dans le collectif, tu sais. C'est quelque chose qu'il faut qu'on le fasse nous-mêmes. Vous comprenez? C'est ça qu'il faut le faire. Comme quand on parle du recyclage, du compostage, tout ça, mais ça prend l'individu parce que j'ai vu bien des poubelles publiques où que les bouteilles sont jetées dedans. Ça veut dire que ces bouteilles-là, ils doivent aller au recyclage. Fait que ça prend l'individu puis le collectif, tu sais. Ça prend l'individu puis le collectif. C'est ça que je veux m'en venir. Puis mes théories initiatives sont fondamentalement pour le collectif de civilisation de l'Amérique du Nord, parce que je suis québécois, canadien, nord-américain. Je suis né ici dans cette vie, dans une autre, puis dans une autre, je serais peut-être né ailleurs, mais aujourd'hui, pour le 2025, je suis québécois, canadien, nord-américain. Personnellement, je ne me considère pas en étant un membre d'une diaspora, puis je dois faire le même principe pour tous ceux qui viennent nous rejoindre dans ce nouveau collectif de civilisation de l'Amérique du Nord, parce qu'on est un collectif émergent, on n'est pas divorcé de l'Occident, mais on a des distinctions qui nous guident vers l'avenir dans le collectif de l'Amérique du Nord. Puis mes protocoles initiatifs sont fondamentalement pour les 63 territoires de ce grand collectif, puis ça inclut plus le Mexique aussi, parce qu'ils font partie du collectif de l'Amérique du Nord, mais je parle du point de vue binational, Québec, Canada, États-Unis, principalement mes initiatives sont pour le grand collectif nord-américain, donc Canada et États-Unis principalement. Puis oui, je peux être universel pour la guerre mondiale, mais en tant que mes philosophies, même si je connais les idéologies des autres pays, puis leur histoire, puis leurs conflits, puis mes prédictions, je reviens à mon travail de 2019, en octobre-novembre, j'ai prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant. Hein? J'ai la preuve, j'ai la vidéo en ligne, j'ai prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe, qu'il y aura une conflagration internationale sur une troisième guerre mondiale qui va venir dans les 7 prochaines années. Fait que c'est ça qui arrive, bien sûr, dans ce qu'on voit tout à la télé, puis le nouveau conflit qui vient de commencer la semaine passée, Israël qui ont fait des attaques préemptives vers l'Iran. Ça, c'est un autre conflit qui vient de s'ouvrir sur l'horizon, mais on va voir, Trump, il dit, peut-être il va se donner 2 semaines pour voir s'il va s'impliquer dans cette guerre. Il va se donner 2 semaines pour voir s'il va s'impliquer dans la guerre. Il va se donner 2 semaines pour voir s'il va s'impliquer dans la guerre. Il va se donner 2 semaines pour voir s'il va s'impliquer dans la guerre. C'est ça qu'il faut qu'on fasse. Ben, c'est ça qu'il faut le penser de même, du grand collectif de civilisation de l'Amérique du Nord, puis avec toute la diversité qu'on a, puis les forces, bien sûr, de l'individu puis du collectif, parce que nous, les Aspi, moi, en tant qu'Aspi, j'ai des caractéristiques d'Asperger. Il n'y a pas de médicament, c'est pas une maladie pour qu'on puisse faire un traitement de l'Asperger. Il n'y a pas de médicament, je dois vivre avec. Je dois toujours bâtir des ponts, laisser les gens, citoyens, savoir que dans certaines choses, je suis pas bon, comme ci, comme ça, médiocre, j'ai de la misère. le défaut, un retardement dans certaines choses, tu sais, du point de vue de la société, un retardement dans certaines choses. Fait que c'est juste ce point d'exploitation, d'explication pour expliquer, bien sûr, c'est quoi l'Asperger's dans un point. Cette condition de neurodivergence, ça fait que notre cerveau, il y a des mutations. Fait qu'à cause de ces mutations, nous, on voit le monde différemment. On voit le monde différemment. Fait qu'on voit le monde différemment, fait que la manière qu'on communique, c'est différent aussi. Fait que la manière de communication, c'est aussi différent. C'est aussi différent. S'il vous plaît, ça ne me dérange pas que vous fumez du pot ici, mais ça peut être avalé par un lapin. Par un lapin. C'est légal, là, mais juste mettez ça dans le recyclage ou. Tu sais, parce que on peut avoir des lapins, des chauves-souris, des marmottes, des castors, des écureuils, marmottes, castors, des lapins même, puis juste. Ouais, ce chemin-là s'en va de l'autre bord. Puis je m'en vais faire le tour, puis on rentre. C'est ça l'Asperger, c'est cette condition de neurodivergence qui fait qu'on a certaines caractéristiques. Oh! C'est pas des symptômes. Des symptômes, c'est pour une maladie. Il n'y a pas de médicament pour l'Asperger. Je dois juste faire la gestion de ces caractéristiques, comme ne pas répéter 2 ou 3 fois la même chose. L'école, il y a aussi, ça veut dire répéter exactement qu'est-ce qu'une personne dit la phrase. Puis moi, ça faisait des années qu'on m'avait dit que j'ai l'Asperger, j'ai autiste hautement fonctionnel, l'Asperger, je préfère utiliser l'Asperger, et c'est beau ça. Mais j'ai jamais voulu l'accepter. Juste dans la COVID, ben j'ai dit oui, 100%, je suis Asperger, j'ai des caractéristiques. Je vis comme un Asperger avec ma routine, qui se tourne quand même une routine routine, d'une routine quand même assez rigide, sévère, mais ça me dérange pas le changement, même plus pour l'économie, les finances et le commerce, parce que mon seul stress maintenant est financier, commercial, du point de vue du stress financier, commercial, c'est ces choses-là, bien sûr que je dois le faire, bien sûr, dans ce domaine d'avoir de l'affaire de la circonférence, pour comme je vous disais tantôt, ben, c'est que l'enjeu politique, je suis bon. C'est ça mon intérêt spécial, mon intérêt obsessif. Fait que si vous rentrez en discussion de ça, il faut que vous soyez bien préparé et avoir certaines connaissances. Puis c'est sûr que je néglige d'autres choses, mais sinon je peux vous chanter du rock and roll. Puis je suis prêt pour travailler, j'adore ça, travailler, j'aime ça. L'entraînement physique, depuis 2017, quand je suis sorti de ma dépression, j'ai perdu entre 80 et 93 livres. Fait que c'est ça que je fais. Puis je suis bon dans ça. Fait que là, sans tardement, je vais parler de la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. Je vais vous parler de la ceinture. Hey, ça, vous voyez, des fois, quand je monte par là-bas, je la rends pour 1 million, tout ce que j'habite, pour donner la moitié à mon ami anonyme. Des fois, quand je monte par là-bas, je monte en haut, puis ça fait une réflexion, puis ça fait que je me parle d'avoir, bien sûr, dans le domaine, d'avoir la ceinture qui tombe. C'est que la ceinture qui tombe, là, c'est pas sauf mes pantalons sont corrects, là, c'est juste que quand je monte, ça, c'est pas la même meilleure, mais je dois avoir la gratitude. Tout ce que j'ai quand même, c'est pas mal acheté à bas prix, là. Même ça, qu'est-ce que je porte sur la tête, l'arc-en-ciel, mais c'est à Renaissance. Fait que c'est ça. Fait que là, la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, puis bien sûr, encore une fois, pour finir avec c'est quoi l'Asperger, c'est pas une maladie mentale. C'est une condition de neurodivergence. Il n'y a pas de médicaments. On doit faire la gestion de caractéristiques. Oui, on peut être bizarre, étrange, hors norme, avoir certaines caractéristiques qui peuvent provoquer une angoisse, qui peuvent provoquer un malaise, qui peuvent provoquer un certain malheur, un malaise, qui peuvent provoquer un malaise, un malheur dans certaines choses, un malheur, un malaise, puis certaines choses, un malaise, un malheur qui peuvent provoquer certaines choses que sont pas, tu sais, on n'est pas bien vu dans certains points. On peut être considéré comme instable ou malade à cause d'une certaine intensité que les aspis quand même on peut démontrer dans certains sujets, puis certaines choses qu'on fait quand on est. C'est pour ça que la majorité des gens appellent ça des intérêts obsessifs. Mais c'est pas des intérêts obsessifs pour nous. Moi, quand je fais des heures sans bouger, puis après on boit du café, puis à faire des analyses, puis passer, puis faire des révisions à mes analyses de la géopolitique, à 6 heures de temps, avec juste du café, puis un petit break de toilette, un petit pause aller à la toilette. Moi, je vois pas. Pour moi, c'est normal, ça. Pour moi, c'est normal, vous comprenez? Mais quelqu'un qui regarde de l'extérieur, là, puis qui me voit en train de regarder plusieurs chaînes de télé, puis c'est la géopolitique, c'est les nouvelles, la géopolitique, l'analyse, puis là, des notes, puis là, je pense, puis je suis pas dedans, puis je revise. Puis pour quelqu'un, ça peut paraître comme... Ça peut paraître, ben, hey, c'est bizarre, ça. Tu sais, c'est intense, c'est concentré, c'est qu'est-ce qui se passe, tu sais. Vous comprenez? C'est ça. Parce que vous, en majorité des gens, vous êtes une heure typique. Mais ça, c'est pour ça que c'est connu comme c'est connu comme des intérêts obsessifs. Mais pour moi, c'est pas obsessif, parce qu'obsessif, c'est plus pour une personne que vous êtes la majorité des gens, des neurotypiques, les 99,56%. Pour moi, c'est mon intérêt spécial, puis c'est ma routine. Ça fait partie de mon quotidien, faire des analyses et théories en géopolitique, des révisions, puis des études de la géopolitique, des heures par jour. Comme j'en fais de l'entraînement, puis maintenant, je suis en train de faire de la chorégraphie avec la bouche, les yeux, les orteils, avec mon corps, puis c'est la danse qui est mon sport préféré, qui est le sport que je préfère, puis après ça, c'est le rock'n'roll, je suis sur la Montréal, je suis en train de parler en puis Asperger, je suis pas parfait, loin de l'être, je ne prétends pas être de la perfection, que je conjugue dans le Bechdel, le dragon, je suis pas un démon, j'adore juste le rock'n'roll, ah oui, ça bouge les fesses jusqu'en haut, et le rock'n'roll, je suis bon, c'est d'autres choses, je suis nul, la société, la compréhension, il faut me le dire, ben, hey, tu m'as manqué de respect, ou s'il te plaît, excuse-toi, je vais m'excuser, c'est pas parce que je veux faire exprès de certaines choses, c'est parce que mon cerveau est différent. J'ai un cerveau Asperger, j'ai un cerveau Aspi, neurodivergent, j'ai ces mutations qui, certaines choses de la société sont difficiles pour nous. Il faut nous le dire, il faut nous l'expliquer, puis par des mots, puis qu'est-ce qu'on peut faire. C'est ça la compréhension. Parce que nous, les Asperger, il y a encore une chose que les gens disent qu'on n'a pas de compassion. C'est pas ça. On a de la compassion, ben, c'est juste que nous, là, les Aspi, à place de verbaliser une consolation verbale, puis je dis, ben, je m'excuse pour toi, si on peut le faire, si c'est pas notre faute directement, ou on va pas dire, je m'excuse, parce que des fois, c'est pas de ta faute, pourquoi tu t'excuses, tu sais. Des fois, je dis ça aux gens, puis c'est parce que c'est la manière socialement de parler, mais nous, c'est parce qu'on voit des fois les choses littéralement, fait que ça bloque, notre cerveau, il bloque, vous comprenez? C'est comme, tantôt, dans une vidéo, vous me voyez, puis je dis, ben, je suis en crise financière, je suis stressé économiquement, je suis stressé du point de vue de l'argent, du point de vue de mes finances, ça va pas bien, j'ai dit d'une manière, puis il a dit, je m'excuse, puis j'ai dit, ben, pourquoi vous excusez? Pourquoi vous excusez? Ben, parce que c'est pas de sa faute, vous comprenez? C'est pas lui qui m'a fait perdre l'emploi, puis, à moins que ça, ben, c'est pas lui, là, c'est une personne que je connais, un concitoyen sur la montagne comme ça, mais c'est parce que c'est la manière de communiquer social. Mais moi, je l'ai vu, mon cerveau Asperger, il a vu, ben, pourquoi vous excusez? C'est pas votre faute. Fait que je l'ai dit directement. Fait que peut-être pas, il a pris une offense, peut-être, je ne sais pas s'il était offensé ou quoi que ce soit, mais c'est ça le cerveau Asperger, vous comprenez? Parce que moi, je l'ai dit au concitoyen, ben c'est pas votre faute. Pourquoi vous excusez? C'est pas, vous devrez pas être désolé, c'est pas à cause de vous que je suis en crise financière, c'est à cause que j'ai l'Asperger, puis on a ce problème, nous, parce qu'on est mal compris, puis on est différent, puis c'est ça. Puis 60 à 80% des citoyens avec Asperger, ils vivent avec ces difficultés d'emploi à long terme, puis d'avoir des amis, puis de l'isolation, puis le suicide, puis genre, c'est tout. J'en finirai pas avec ça. Mais le plus important maintenant, c'est que vous prêtez attention à la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. Oubliez que, ben oui, je suis androgène, pansexuel, Asperger, monsieur, madame, bizarre, étrange, plein de cicatrices, la perte de mémoire, puis blablabla. Mais là, c'est important, parce que de cette malédiction, c'est pour la table pour le Québec, le Canada et les États-Unis ensemble, parce qu'il faut qu'on fasse ça de manière binationale. Je dois vous parler de la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, qui est la solution, qui va pouvoir nous sortir de la difficulté où qu'on est rendu. On est rendu à un point de crise. C'est pas juste moi qui est en stress financièrement. Et vous voyez, c'est pour ça que j'avertis les gens. Ça, c'est une branche qui vient de tomber il n'y a pas longtemps. D'après qu'on puisse dire, OK, ça c'était bien, même peut-être aujourd'hui. Fait que là, ça tombe ça sur quelqu'un qui vient de bicyclette, ou même sur moi. Fait qu'on la pitch de côté. Ça, c'est tombé d'en haut. Et même celle-là, tu vois, celle-là qui est là. Cette branche-là, avec du vent, puis tout est en train de craquer là-bas. Au bout de là-bas, je la vois qui est en train de... C'est ça. Ça, c'est... Ça peut être tombé sur quelqu'un. Fait que soyez prudent, là, si vous venez ici. Juste ça. Un petit mot du bon samaritain, le dragon arc-en-ciel, philosophe, artiste, athlète, analyste théoricien géopolitique, bizarre comment je suis. Je dois faire ma part pour votre bien. J'espère que vous voulez me bien aussi. Sinon, mais... Vengeance 11 fois, rock'n'roll, vengeance 11 fois, rock'n'roll, vengeance 11 fois, rock'n'roll, 11 fois vengeance, rock'n'roll. Merci, bonjour. Prêt pour le travail. Puis la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, super important. Prêtez bien attention. Parce qu'on est rendu à un point d'avoir une crise économique des publics, des finances publiques ainsi que privées. Privé puis public ensemble. On est rendu à payer un record de dette, puis vis-à-vis ce record d'endettement, sur les cartes de crédit, moi-même j'ai 10 000 $ à la Banque Royale, l'endettement avec les cartes de crédit, aussi parallèlement à ces cartes de crédit qui sont, on a un dette record, qui s'est augmenté. Les loyers, le prix des loyers ont augmenté, et pas juste les prix du loyer, là. Pas juste les prix du loyer, mais pas juste les prix du loyer, mais aussi le coût de la vie. Le coût de la vie a augmenté. Le pain, le beurre, les œufs, le bacon, toutes ces choses-là. Saucisses, toutes ces choses-là. Et bien sûr, dans ce point que je vous mets sur la table, c'est un paradoxe. La TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. C'est la seule solution, mais je vous dis c'est la seule solution, je ne peux pas dire exactement la seule, mais une théorie qui ressemble à ma TRD, la théorie de la refusion de la dette, T pour T, théorie, R pour refusion, D de la dette, la théorie de la refusion de la dette. Il faut qu'on fasse l'implémentation aussitôt possible. Théorie de la refusion de la dette, c'est important, ça presse, vous comprenez? On est rendu à un point énorme là, de finances, c'est un point de crise. Je demande à mon oncle Carnet qu'est-ce qu'on va couper dans le budget parce que durant les 5 ans, puis moi-même, j'ai survécu la COVID. Hein. J'ai eu la coronavirus en février 2020, entre février 2020 et mars 2020. Fait que j'ai survécu la COVID. Fait qu'à cause d'avoir survécu la COVID, je me suis dit que je dois vivre tous les jours comme ça serait mon dernier jour, mais je l'espoir pour le futur. Puis c'est seulement, il faut qu'on fasse l'implémentation de ma théorie de la refusion de la dette binationale pour le front de la salvation binationale, Canada et États-Unis ensemble. Parce que l'intérêt il a augmenté qu'on a payé sur l'intérêt sur la dette publique du Canada. Fait que, on doit vérifier les numéros avec la Banque canadienne, mais ça a augmenté tellement l'intérêt qu'on a payé durant les 5 ans depuis 2020 qu'on ne peut pas soutenir ça. Il va falloir qu'on coupe dans le budget des services. Soit la police, la GRC, la Gendarmerie royale du Canada. Imaginez-vous, les prisons, la sanitation, les hôpitaux, la défense nationale. Vous comprenez? C'est une crise. Puis vis-à-vis la dette publique, la crise des finances publiques, la crise des finances majoritaires, de la majorité des citoyens, on a augmenté depuis 2020 les cartes de crédit, le surendettement, puis c'est l'intérêt qu'on paye vis-à-vis le surendettement des cartes de crédit. Un double problème financier qui se rajoute. Le coût de la vie n'arrête pas d'augmenter. Et les salaires n'augmentent pas. C'est ça le problème majeur. Fait que la théorie de la refusion de la dette, il faut qu'on fasse l'implémentation. C'est quoi la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette? La TRD, ça inclut la théorie d'intégration monétaire. Vous voyez ces branches-là qui tombent, c'est pour ça que j'avertis les gens, mais soyez prudents ici. Fait que la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, ça contient la théorie d'intégration monétaire, ce qui est la théorie d'intégration monétaire, la théorie que les Européens ont fait l'implémentation dans les années 80. Ils ont fait de l'implémentation dans les années 80 par écart des années, ça fait longtemps déjà, les années 80, les Allemands, les Italiens, les Français, bien d'autres pays ont détruit leur banque centrale nationale. Donc nous, on va faire pareil. Dans ma TRD, ça inclut la théorie d'intégration monétaire, qui est la théorie que les Européens ont fait de l'implémentation dans les années 80 par la création d'une banque centrale commune, puis la création d'une monnaie commune, l'euro. Donc ma TRD, ça contient cette théorie. Fait que je vous l'explique. On va prendre toute la dette publique-privée, mon 10 000, ton 10 000 de côte à côte. On va faire la conversion de toute la dette publique-privée, incluant mon 10 000 en tant que citoyen. J'ai une dette de 10 000 $, citoyen, dragon arc-en-ciel. Monsieur, madame, philosophe artiste, qui vous met sa table à TRD. Toute la dette publique-privée, on va convertir ça en dette dans la devise des États-Unis. on va faire l'addition avec la dette publique-privée des États-Unis. Tout cet argent-là, on va le mettre ensemble avec l'argent qui existe en circulation. On va faire la création d'une nouvelle banque du collectif de l'Amérique du Nord. On va faire en mise en marché une nouvelle monnaie qu'on va appeler l'UI. U.unité, E.échange, U.universel. U.unité, E.échange universel. UI. U.unité, E.échange universel. L'unité d'échange universel. UI. U.unité, E.échange universel. L'unité d'échange universel aura la valeur du dollar des États-Unis avec l'implémentation de ma TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. On va pouvoir rebâtir l'infrastructure du collectif de l'Amérique du Nord, bâtir plus de centrales Hydro-Québec, financer les gens à l'entraînement physique parce que pour le bien-être, c'est quelqu'un que j'ai écrit des protocoles des initiatives philosophiques vis-à-vis de cette initiative. Et bien sûr aussi, bâtir, il faut qu'on commence aussitôt, construire les 44 tunnels à travers le collectif de civilisation de l'Amérique du Nord, le Québec, le Canada, les États-Unis. Si, dans le cas où il y aurait une guerre nucléaire, pour la continuité et la survie du collectif de civilisation de l'Amérique du Nord, donc le Québec, le Canada, on fait partie, puis on va s'unir, on va faire un nouveau passeport, on va enlever la frontière. On n'a pas besoin d'investir dans 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 la frontière. Bien sûr. On ne va pas investir dans la frontière. C'est bien sûr qu'il faut qu'on fasse, c'est bien sûr pour le faire dans le point d'envergence, pour le faire, bâtir les grands tunnels dans le cas où il y a une guerre nucléaire. C'est possible qu'il y ait une guerre nucléaire qui commence, bien sûr, aussitôt. Là, c'est possible que même aujourd'hui, je me rends chez nous, puis il y a des bombes nucléaires qui se sont pitchées. Bien sûr. C'est possible, il y a des bombes nucléaires depuis la guerre. Puis je spécialise en tant qu'analyste théoricien dans la guerre froide qui a duré entre 1947, mars 1944, 1947 et décembre 1991. Quasiment 45 ans. 44 ans et 9 mois, c'était longtemps la guerre froide. Ça a été... Même maintenant, il y a un réarmement nucléaire, puis un gros paradoxe. Le gros tabou du 20e siècle, en tant qu'analyste géopolitique, j'ai fait philosophie, je dois dédier un discours juste à ça, un tabou qui vient d'être brisé. Là. Le réarmement de l'Allemagne, ça c'est un tabou pour l'Occident. Parce qu'ils ont leur histoire impérialiste, militariste, agressive du 20e siècle, la Première Guerre mondiale, la Deuxième Guerre mondiale. Puis à l'Est, dans l'Orient, un autre tabou qui vient d'être brisé, c'est le Japon, le réarmement du Japon. Eux autres aussi, dans le 20e siècle, il y a une histoire militariste, impérialiste. Ils ont attaqué les États-Unis par surprise, le 7 décembre 1941. Fait qu'il faut qu'on fasse la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, pour la création de l'unité d'échange universel. On n'a pas le choix. C'est important pour qu'on établisse les deux institutions de partenariat public-privé, soit l'armée du Dragon, soit la Légion de la SSD. Seulement, ça va fonctionner, l'armée du Dragon, les légions du collectif de l'Amérique du Nord, du royaume de la déesse et du Dragon qui danse, l'Empire, les 63 légions pour la SSD, Sécurité, Service, Défense, les 63 légions pour la Sécurité, Service, Défense. Seulement pour la Sécurité, Service, Défense. L'armée de la déesse qui danse pour l'environnement, puis pour la danse, pour le bien-être, pour la danse, puis pour le nettoyage bien sûr, du recyclage. Partout, il y a du recyclage et puis du nettoyage à faire. Et bien sûr, sur cette montagne, il y a bien sûr du recyclage à faire. Et c'est des choses qu'on fasse, bien sûr, sur la montagne. Ici qu'il faut qu'on fasse. Donc, on va faire ce grand compromis pour la collectif de civilisation de l'Amérique du Nord. Et bien sûr, dans ces choses-là, on va devoir le faire. On va devoir le faire. Dans ce grand compromis, la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, c'est important qu'on fasse la TRD, qu'on fasse l'implémentation de la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. Super important, la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. Théorie de la refusion de la dette, théorie de la refusion de la dette. La TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, c'est super important qu'on fasse la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. Donc, on va faire l'implémentation de ma TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. Fait que toute cette dette-là, public-privé, on va la prendre ensemble. On va faire bâtir plus de centrales d'Hydro-Québec aussi. Plus de centrales d'Hydro-Québec, là, avec ça. Financer les gens au tourisme aussi à travers les 63. 10 provinces, 50 États et 3 territoires, parce que ça va solidifier un bien-être. On va rebâtir, bien sûr, les ferrailles, les chemins de fer, l'infrastructure, les ponts. Fait que du bien commun, pour ça, on va bâtir les 4. Le Colisée du peuple impérial sur la frontière du Canada et des États-Unis qui va être 11 fois plus grand que le Caesars Super Bowl ou que mes San Francisco 49ers ils ont perdu le Super Bowl. Par 3 points contre les Ravens de Baltimore. C'est un de mes top 5 préférés Super Bowl. Bien sûr, j'aime ça le football, la boxe. Puis je fais appel à Donald Trump depuis 2018 pour me boxer. J'ai les gants rouges dans le sac à dos. On va bâtir le temple de la déesse oubliée. La pyramide écarlate. Écarlate, c'est rouge. La maison du dragon. Personne n'est né un dragon. On le devient. L'armée de la déesse qui danse vis-à-vis, bien sûr, le palais du peuple arc-en-ciel pour les neurodivergents. Fait on va financer les gens à l'entraînement physique, on va bâtir les 44 tunnels, bâtir plus de centrales hydro-Québec, financer le tourisme et fonder les 2 institutions de partenariat public-privé, l'armée du dragon, soit la Légion ou les légions de défense du collectif de l'Amérique du Nord pour la sécurité service défense sûrement intégré puis basé sur mes nouveaux protocoles de 9-1 parce que 9-1 c'est Montréal, Québec, États-Unis, c'est la même chose, c'est 9-1 au Mexique aussi. Puis on va mettre sur la philosophie qu'on va avancer pour la sécurité service et défense basé sur mes théories et mes philosophies pour le 21e siècle, pour le ravitaillement aussi de la population criminelle, tu sais, pour mes frères et sœurs qui perdent leur liberté, puis mes frères et sœurs qui prennent leur rédemption criminelle puis qui changent leur vie, je vous applaudis. Hein. Comme je chante du rock'n'roll pour mes frères et sœurs en bleu, pour la police, pour la sécurité, puis nos frères et sœurs dans les uniformes, les pompiers, je chante du rock'n'roll aussi pour vous, là, que vous allez changer votre vie, pour vous prenez votre 2e, 3e chance même pour vous changer votre vie. Juste des amis avec bénéfice, avec bénéfice, je veux juste des amis avec bénéfice. Je prête allégeance, les gens, vous êtes famille. Prête allégeance, les gens, vous êtes famille. Prêtez allégeance, les gens. Vous êtes famille, soutenez le rêve, le royaume de la déesse et du dragon qui danse, qui est fondamentalement un appel à un partenariat public-privé. Puis ici, on va voir ces belles fleurs qui se trouvent ici, en haut de la montagne. Regardez ça, ça n'en vient pas leur nom. Je vais leur donner un nom en latin. Des fois, je parle un peu en latin. Dans une autre vie, j'étais femme, prêtresse de la déesse. Bien sûr, prêtresse de la déesse. Bien sûr, prêtresse de la déesse dans une autre vie. Puis bien sûr, ici, des petites fleurs blanches. On peut bâtir la pyramide du dragon ici, le temple de la déesse oubliée ici qu'on va voir. Et bien sûr, pour faire la belle histoire, prêter allégeance des gens, juste des amis avec bénéfice seulement. Puis je vous encourage à faire l'entraînement physique. On va pouvoir faire beaucoup de bien commun avec la fondation de l'armée de la dragon, puis de côte à côte, les 63. J'ai oublié de dire à ma cousin que faire attention quand il rentre. J'étais tellement dedans, puis de la TRD, que je pensais que ma cousine allait s'arrêter ici, se mettre là, mais d'aller puis faire attention, parce que des fois les branches tombent d'en haut. Fait que d'habitude j'avertis les gens, mais je pensais que ça allait fumer du pot ou une cigarette qui allait s'allumer, puis qui allait se mettre sur le coin ici, même pas. En tout cas, on va faire attention. En tout cas, maintenant des cadences, cadence. Go for the cadence, rock and roll, you know how we go. Get ready for that cadence. Get ready for the Dragonomic cadence, creative freestyle mode, last day of spring, before the summer. Cadence, Dragonomic cadence, nobody's born a dragon. Cadence, get ready for the Dragonomic cadence, rock and roll for the cadence, Dragonomic. Creative special cadence. Let's go, get ready for that cadence. Let's get ready for the cadence. That's the Dragonomic cadence, that's the sentence. Ain't nobody dragon. Freestyle mode, June 20th. In and out, backpack ready. Got some pounds on it. Creative freestyle mode by yours truly, Rainbow Dragon, aka greatest cuckold in the universe, tiny clit dick, General Zero nonetheless. All orders of the Dragon Army, let's found it. Calling for binational institution, Dragon Army, aka North American SSD Legion for security service and defense integrated with all existing public and private institutions and organizations that are involved in security matters. Police forces for that new 911, Dragon total security, total service, total defense. Dragon Army cadence, pledge your allegiance, legions. Rock and roll for created now, 20th of June 2020. 5, according to some, and carpe diem it every day. Survived COVID, got some scars, got retrograde amnesia. And now it's all that matters for today and for tomorrow. Pledge your allegiance for the 63, 63, for the 63, 63, for the empire. For the empire, for the empire, for the empire, for the empire, for the kingdom of the dancing goddess and the dragon legions. Pledge your allegiance, legions. Some of my dragons are white, some of my dragons are black, some of my dragons are black, white, some of my dragons are rainbow, and some of my dragons are dragonesses. Let's get ready on the go. Dragon Army, only legions of the Dragon Army. Pledge your allegiance. Legions or sympathizers, allies, or supporters, or neutrals. Neutrals can listen to these. Otherwise, don't sing unless you're ready. Let's go, Dragon Army cadence. Dragon Army cadence. That is our sentence. Dragon Army cadence. That is our sentence. The Dragon Army cadence, that is our sentence. Ain't nobody's born a dragon. Ain't nobody's born a dragon. Gotta see and left or right, so you know we on the site. For the butchers and the plumbers, electricians and the hummers, gotta get ready to see. For the receipts that you be, got some left and got some right. Got the army dragging tight. For the butchers and the bakers, for the nurses and the doctors, for the firefighters, gotta see ready to be. On the left and on the right, for the daycare changing diapers, you know that we are the sights. For the left and for the tights, you know that we are the lights. Lights is the stars above, is the star above. You know that we see some birds they with the hawks. Hawks gotta hydrate for the for the love if it's hot today. For the 63. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. We don't need no magic potion. Got some rocks and got some valleys. Got some rocks and got some valleys. Got some rocks and got some valleys. You know that they play the harley. Play the harp and play the trumpet. Play the harp and play the trumpet. Gotta play up in the dump it. Hey, on the city of the hawk. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. They live up in the barks. Got a left and right in sights. Got a red, that's a right. Red is the color of the Dragon Army. Let's go for the cadence. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Firefighters, electricians, construction workers on steel toes. We gotta love him, so you know. Ain't the bakers and the butchers. Train conductors got it, hey. Who's be trucking that today? Train conductors got a sleigh, say hey. Who's be trucking that today? Nobody dies, no, not today. Some of my dragons are black. Some of my dragons are white. Some of my dragons are white, black. Some of my dragons are rainbow, so that you know. Some of my dragons are rainbow, so that you know. Hey, on the Dragon Army, knocking on the door. Gotta get the hydration, and we're gonna continue this cadence until the end here, the headquarters of the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom. And thank you to those who build this. At top of the holy, bury me, a third of me in the back of the Belvedere Knock, right at the Belvedere here, the headquarters of the dancing goddess dragon kingdom. Let's get those dragon flags, and 1/3 of me to Papa Crowley, Hampton, New Jersey. 1/3 of me, split me in 3 for my death, and 1/3 of me in Hampton, New Jersey. Hampton, New Jersey, 1/3 of me, city of the pyramids, and 1/3 of me right where we were, at the back where those rocks were. And that's all we gotta get doing on the left. And we gotta get that HYDRAT, get some water. Thank you to the builders. Salute. That brains and muscle was required to build all this, a feat of engineering to bring water, portable water all atop the mountain. Rock and roll, let's go. Thank you. 20th of June, creative freestyle more. Let's rock and roll. Hey, the dragon army marching every day. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean for the empire. For the SSD, SSD for the empire. For the kingdom, for the left, for the right day with the best. For the kingdom, for the kingdom, for the empire, gotta see on the mountain that you be, left and right and that you see. Gotta see to believe it, gotta be to believe it, that's what we gotta see. Left and right and that you see. Kisses got the harmony. Let's go for the firefighters, clapping hands and up above. For the lights and for the sats, for the stars and for the stats. Marching steps, that's what we got. Marching steps is what we got. Gonna check that. Check that. Get us all kanan. Wild. That is my favorite skyscraper there, see? That is what it is there, see? Look at that. That's the pyramid. Thank you, firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, truckers, those who build this North American collective, daycare workers changing diapers, all those involved in the production, distribution of food across the 63. We love you, firefighters. We love our firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors. We love our brothers and sisters in the uniform, and all of firefighters, the butchers, the nurses, and the doctors, and all those involved in the production, distribution of food. And let's go it for the left, right, Z. Welcome. He's got a secret. We up. I got that curse, man. I'm cursed to rap for the police. I got that curse. Who the police? He's got us. Let's go. A little pit stop. Pit stop. Let's go for the left, for the right, for the left, and for the right. That's all we gotta get doing. Hey, keep it in motion. Gotta give it for the left, for the right. We the good guys. We the dragon army, we can be bought, we can be bribed, we can be bought, we can be bribed. We can be bought, we can be bribed. We the dragon army sight, we can be bought, we can be bribed. We can be bought, we can be bribed. We the dragon army sight, we cannot be bought, we cannot be bribed. We cannot be bought, we cannot be bribed. Dragon army for the firefighters, for the butchers and the bakers. Construction workers on steel toes. Give them some cheese, those who flip some burgers, those who flip some burgers, those who flip some burgers. Hey, those in the daycares changing some diapers. Those who flip some burgers, those who flip some burgers, those who flip some burgers. In the daycare changing diapers. Gotta get ready to go. Left and right and for the show. Got some rocks and got some tight. Got some spiders on the block. Got some spiders on the block. Ready to hip, ready to hop. Got a left and got a right. Got a left and got a right. You know that we sight. We're the hawks in the forest. So that you knew that's what we go with. Gotta let people know. It's a beautiful lake here. It's kind of a little bit of a lake. On the steps, we rock and roll. Dragon army on the shows. Firefighters and the butchers. Electricians and the plumbers. Gotta give it so you want us. We gotta see who we be. On the streets is you and me. Dragon army coast to coast. On the open road. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. In the mountains by the rivers. Dragon army, they gonna hear us. Some of my dragons are black. Some of my dragons are white. Some of my dragons are white, black. Some of my dragons are white, black. Some of my dragons are dragonesses. Some of our dragons are dragonesses. Nobody is born a dragon. That's the motto of the kingdom. Kingdom Dragon Army. Dragon Army motto. Nobody is born a dragon. In the forest, on the mountain. In the cities or by the river. Montreal to San Francisco. Hey, pledge your allegiance. We can be bought, we can be bribed. We the Dragon Army for the 63. For the SSD. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Security, service and defense. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Security, service and defense. Security, service and defense. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Security, service and defense. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. We don't need no magic potion. Got a left and right we sight. That's the army that we tight. Security, service, and defense. We only play that defense. Some of my dragons are black. Some of my dragons are white. Some of my dragons are black, white. Some of my dragons are rainbow. You're gonna see it so you know. Left and right and up and go. Do it and you gotta show. Gotta see it as you go. Gotta see it as you know. left or right and in the sight. Yep, for the empire, for the kingdom. For the kingdom, for the empire. That you go left and right. Dragon army sight. And you know that the beauty of the nature that you see, that is you and that is me. That's another day adventure. Dragon army from Montreal to San Francisco. 463 under trees, you see. Don't count the leaves, but count the steps. Don't count the leaves, but count the steps. Don't count the trees, but count your steps. One to the right and to the left. Don't count the trees, but count your steps. One to the right and one to the left. Cadence, that is the Dragon Army sentence. Dragon Army sentence, that is our cadence. So you see just how we be. Dragon Army that you be. Left and right in harmony. On the march that we see. For the butchers and the bakers, nurses and the truckers. Gotta give it train conductors. Yep, gotta give it for the plumbers. Got a left and got a right. A left and a right and on the side. So you see just how we bite. Why, by the valleys, by the rivers. Throw some stones and some feet on the beat. Dragon army, feel the heat. We're not demons, we are dragons. Spitting fire and some pillows. Got a soft and got a strength. Piece of strength, 50-50 on that. You gotta have some loving and understanding. We gotta build a Dragon Army SSD Legion. Security, service, and defense. And we gotta get on that go. And so we gotta get doing, you know. So let's go. For the train conductors got a cadence. For the truckers, we got the cadence. For the nurses, we got the cadence. For the construction workers, we got the cadence. IT workers need your Dragon Army, let's go. For the IT workers, we got some cadence. Satellites, let's build some more SATs, total security, total service, total defense, microchips, gadgets, and we need to do that census. For the North American Collectif, get rid of the border, implement my DRT theory, and back to cadence. Cadence, that is our sentence. Dragon Army's who we be. For the sky and for we sight. That's the Dragon Army sight. For the butchers and the truckers. For the left and for the right. We the Dragon Army right. Nobody is born a dragon. Nobody is born a dragon. If they bark to us, don't even answer. Woof, woof, woof. They bark to us, don't even answer. We are dragons, not some demons. If they bark to us, don't even answer. They bark to us, don't even answer. If they bark to us, don't even answer, man. Woof, woof, woof. That is the Dragon Army cadence. Dragon Army, that's the cadence. Gotta give it for the left. For the left and for the right. Gotta give it for your sight. Gotta see it for the doers, for the bakers, train conductors. We owe nobody nothing. Pledge your legions that you see. Dragging on me cadence that you be. That you see and that you left. Gotta be that we the best. Gotta see it for the sunrise. Gotta give it for the left. Gotta see it just it is. Squeeze some grapes and make some juice. Squeeze some grapes and make some juice. Squeeze some grapes and squeeze some juice. Gotta see, ready to use. Hey, dragon army on those. Hey, you know we got a frozen, and some heat. Left and right, just magic beats. Gotta be it for the left. You know that we are Dragon Army. Hey, some of us are plenty of scars. Some of us are rehabilitated. Dragon Army, yeah, we rise. Ain't nobody born a dragon. Ain't nobody born a dragon. Ain't nobody born a dragon. Ain't born a dragon. Ain't nobody born a dragon. Hey, ain't nobody born a dragon. Gotta see it to believe it. Some of my dragons are rehabilitated, some of my dragons are scarred. Hey, spitting fire is not enough. Dragon Army gotta follow some orders. Ready? Dragon Army, Dragon Zero, General Dragon Zero Founder, aka greatest cuckold in the universe. Some of my dragons are black, white, or rainbow. You can follow in order to hug, HUG like you never hugged before. Naked. Dragon Army, Dragonesses, dragons, black, white, rainbow dragons, potential Dragon Army. Potentiate. Gonna have to kiss each other good, because if you can't give a follow in order to kiss and hug, Are you gonna fall for that SSD if the 63 Empire gets invaded from the Atlantic, from the Pacific, from the East, or from the West? So we gotta get that orders to establish a family, pledge your allegiance, black, white, or brown dragons, and refuse none. May our enemies be made pestilential. May our enemies be stricken pestilence. May our enemies be stricken pestilence. May our enemies be stricken with pestilence. World peace. But first, the empire, coast to ocean, rehabilitate our brothers and sisters in the prisons of the 63, 10 provinces, 50 states, 3 territories. Second chance, build the 44, build, construct the 44 tunnels for the firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, those construction workers, all those brothers and sisters, white, black, white, black or white or brown, and rainbow, who join us in the 63, the kingdom. Potential to be serving the Dragon Army, have to live in either the 10 provinces, 50 states, 3 territories, since more than 7 years. 7-year minimum requirement, or even we can go 5 in certain measures since February 2020 COVID, but it's probably past 7, so pledge your allegiance, dog. Special cadence sang, of course, by the special singing of the cadence right here, right now, but special singing of that cadence for the North American criminal rehabilitation and for the brothers and sisters in uniform, brothers and sisters, boys and girls in blue, firefighters, truckers, plumbers, electricians, those in the fast food workers, gotta think a bit of salutation of the fast food workers for them, and cadence always for them, always for the lovers, and the youth, I gotta salute, make some good loving for me too, black, white, or rainbow. If you want to make some loving, you're a woman, man, white, black, whatever, just 18 plus. And last cadence on the go, let's go. As we go on the mountain, up and down we go, under Dragon Army for the Empire that's above. Hey, we get it for the steps. Yeah, you know we strive to be the best. Some of my dragons are scarred, some of my dragons got trauma. All my dragons spit fire, all of my dragons spit fire. All of my Dragon Army, dragonesses, black and white, we dragons, Dragon Army. Pledge your allegiance. My second home, here from the mountain, from the top of the mountain. Still allowed to go until I get to my dragon's lair, humble dragon's lair abode. And pledge your allegiance, that's the cadence 24/7, and rock and roll.